Pleased you're here. I hope I can persuade you to hang around. This is Bruce Williams, and you've tuned to We Hope is the very best of conversation radio. Certainly the most intimate. We call it Talknet. Yes, sir, here at 850 WHDH, we give you what we consider to be entertainment as well as a little bit of a learning experience. That's true. Yeah, you learn from my listeners all across this great nation. Now, it's just one number gets you here from the center city or in the suburbs, way out in the burbs, or even your aunt from, oh my goodness, West Undershire can call 800-223-4141. 800-223-4141. I'm Bruce Williams at 850 WHDH Boston. The name of the show? Talknet. Ventura, California. You are here at the kickoff line. Hello.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
I listen every night to you on my long drive home from work, and I really appreciate your program.
Well, I'm glad we can keep you company. What can I do for you?
Well, I have a one-income family for about 7 years, and I have 2 daughters going to college, and they both work part-time and help however they can. But I teach classes part-time in computers, and I have a full-time job at the college also as a computer lab technician.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I keep myself pretty busy.
Okay.
But I have been thinking for quite some time about starting my own business, doing computer training for different companies and corporations. And I've checked out a lot of different things, and I've found a building and a name and gone through all these things. But now I'm really nervous about making a decision.
What is the decision?
Well, I guess whether I should just plunge in and do it. I'm afraid with all the overhead and everything that I might not be able to handle it, or...
Well, you might not be able to survive, is what you're saying. On that.
Right.
The question is, can you attract those folks to come talk to you in order for that, to get their training? And I guess the sidebar question is, how are you going to do that?
Well, I plan on sending out program mailers with different classes that are set up. I work for a company in Los Angeles that does the same type of thing.
How are they doing?
They're doing great. And I kind of thought of modeling myself after them to a degree.
Nothing wrong with that. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Well, one of my problems is I have a kind of another option. I have been offered to, well, I guess you can say offered a contract to teach a few classes at a couple of the military bases that are local here. And I do, part-time training at colleges, that sort of thing. And I don't know if maybe I should just stay with that and not have the overhead. I want to quit the full-time job is the problem.
Well, why not incorporate some of these things into one entity? You mentioned, for example, you have available to you work doing something with the military, right? Well, that would be your first steady source of income in your new venture, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know how steady that is, though. It's just like teaching a few classes during the year for a couple of different departments at the base.
It seems to me it's a start.
Well, that's true.
I mean, something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I guess I worry about how long I can make it, and if I invest the money into starting my own business, I'm just nervous, I guess.
Well, you have every right to be nervous, and I'm sure you realize that nothing is guaranteed. I mean, these things you can think them out as best you are able, and do whatever marketing analysis that you feel is appropriate and that you're capable of performing. When it gets down to cases, there's risk involved. If there wasn't risk, everybody and his brother would be doing it.
Well, that's true.
And the rewards are generally commensurate with the risk. If they're not, then you're taking the wrong risk. That means, that if you hit, you'll make a ton more than you're going to make, fooling around working for somebody else. But, it's interesting in terms of taxes, Our government, when you make a squat, well, they want a piece of it, right? But if you lose, they don't know you. The government doesn't want to share your losses. You can't go to the IRS and say, wow, I had a bad year this year. want you to lay a lot of money on me and help me out. They don't do that. Well, that's part of the whole entrepreneurial system, I guess. It's the risk and the rewards and all the rest of it. If you hit big and you do well, everybody loves you and all that sort of stuff. If you miss, well, too bad, Charlie. You took your shot and that's the way it is.
I guess part of what I worry about is, having a business, and if I need to, hire an employee, because I have to have like a receptionist to answer phones.
How much capital you got to play with?
Well, I have my home. We have about $100,000 equity.
Well, that can start. That can take you a long way. What is your first name?
Lana.
Lana, are you prepared to gamble your home? Now, it's a serious question. There's no right answer.
Well, I guess maybe that's what's making me so nervous.
All right. So, beside the home, how much cash do you have to play with?
About $25,000.
Well, you're a lot better shape than a lot of people are. I mean, you clearly have enough equity in your home and your other assets to get you started, and probably help you survive for. Well, what are you earning a year now?
About $20,000.
All right, so you're in a position to survive for a couple, 3 years, push come to shove. But how old a lady are you?
40.
Okay, you're in a position to lose everything you got too. But then so is everybody else who goes into business.
Okay, well,
You see, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, Lana, go for it. That would be irresponsible on my part. I've tried to point out the pluses and the minuses. But the ultimate decision must be yours.
That's true.
But that's what the joys. That's the joy and the sorrow of the thing. It really is. When you think about that, is the joy and the sorrow of making decisions.
Well, I guess we just have to get out there and try it.
I do wish you well. No matter what your decision is, I'm confident it'll be the best one.
Well, thank you very much.
Edison, New Jersey. Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
I am well, thank you.
Good. I have something that I'd just like to share with you and everybody else listening out there.
All right.
Okay, now listen to this one.
I'm listening with bated breath.
Okay, thanks. Fast food restaurants, I'm not going to say which name.
No, you're not.
Okay, right. But why do you have to go into these places, and this is very aggravating, and sit there and have people mop the floor with pneumonia while you're trying
to... You mean ammonia?
Ammonia. I'm sorry.
Pneumonia, all right. Yeah.
Why?
You mean you don't like the little fumes drifting up and kind of clearing your sinuses?
I think this is disgusting, and there should be a stop to it. It's like I'm going to invite you over for dinner. And
are you really? I'm ready. What are you serving?
Lasagna.
No,
and I'm going to wipe the table with Endust or Lemon Pledge, and I'm going to put you right down here, and you're going to sit and eat, and all, you know what I mean? All the stuff, you smell it as you're eating, and I walked out.
What are you having tomorrow night? The lasagna didn't do it. What do we have?
I don't know. Maybe salad.
Well, a salad maybe sounds better than lasagna.
No, but do you understand what I'm trying to...
I understand.
It is terrible, and I actually walked out of places like this.
But you got to realize that many of these operations are open from morning to night.
That's why they have night hours that you should clean up and do the floor.
Oh,
yes.
What's your first name?
What? Excuse me?
What is your first name?
Harleen.
Harleen?
Yes.
Your parents are expecting a boy?
No.
Harleen. All right. It's, they just can't clean in the morning and let it go, and you let the corruption hang on until night when they close up. They're going to have to clean periodically throughout the day, and I guess they feel that a strong cleaning agent is necessary.
But a lot of these floors really don't look dirty.
Well, but they aren't supposed to look dirty. They got to be clean, not just look clean.
Sure, they do that in the morning, which I've seen.
No, they do it at night, but they also do it during the day.
But they should just mop them.
Well, I'm not going to... You have done what you should do. You voted with your Tootsies. You just kind of tripped out the door. If enough people do that, they'll find another way.
Oh, yes, I'm sure there are people out there that have thought of it.
Well, of course you want to let them know why you're in a nice way. You walk up and just let the assistant manager know that you're unhappy with this method, that's all.
You don't see big restaurants doing this.
Well, but big restaurants don't have the traffic that fast food joints have.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, what can I say? On a scale of 1 to 20, I got to tell you, the fact that they're mopping the floor in my local McD's is not something that's going to get me too uptight. But in your case, if it's bothering you, let the management know. Skip the lasagna. Tomorrow night, we could go for the salad. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Pittsburgh, PA. It's your turn. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
On more than one occasion, I've heard you recommend that folks go and get a mortgage instead of paying off a home. I don't understand how you can make that recommendation with today's laws of standard deductions at $5,000, personal exemptions at $1,900.
Depends on how much you make.
Right. If someone has if someone has a $500 a month mortgage, and let's say it's all interest, $6,000 a year.
Yeah.
They're only at best they're going to get back 15%, or 15 cents on a dollar.
Is that chopped
of
liver?
What's in excess of $5,000.
Is that chopped liver?
No, but wouldn't it be better to make a mortgage payment to yourself and accumulate the interest on that?
That depends upon how astute an investor you are, doesn't it? It also presumes that that's where you're going to be a year or two from now.
Yeah, I just don't see that what applies at higher incomes applies at lower.
If you're going to say that borrowing does not make the sense it made prior to the debauchery that they created in 1986, I wouldn't argue with you. But it's still, for most people, it pays to have a mortgage, as contrasted with paying in cash. But then there's another variable there too. More people than not who are going to pay cash are going to strap themselves to do it. Would you agree to that?
Some people would.
More than not. If they're in the lower income brackets, where'd they get all this cash from?
Well, you had a caller recently where someone had an inheritance.
Yeah,
or something.
26-year-old, right? And take all their money and throw it into a mortgage. That's crazy. They're far better off to have a mortgage because that money's going to earn money someplace, and there's a decent offset there. And if you do it really, if you wanted to really play the game, you go into ozone bonds, which can throw up as much or more, taking into account the tax considerations. They're going to wind up a ton ahead.
Sometimes I think you got to look at the tax law, like you're saying.
I think
it's different today.
You're absolutely right. It is not as generous as it once was. I would not disagree with that. But I'm still not persuaded that the average person, or I'm not persuaded at all that the average person ought to pay cash. Now you get somebody in their 60s or 70s that, for emotional reasons, would like to know that the old homestead is free and clear. You could make a little stronger case for it.
I'll tell you another area with the tax law that you have to look at is the government has lured everybody into putting money into IRAs. Myself...
You say lured? That's an interesting expression.
I was in a tax bracket in the 30-40% tax bracket before. Mm-hmm. I happen to be in the 15% bracket now with the deductions and everything. To me, it makes sense even with the 10% penalty. I'm paying less, and I don't have the prognosis. I don't have the faith that the tax rates are going to be let low when it comes to draw the money out.
Well, that's something we don't know. But the other side of that is, how old are you?
Mid-30s.
All right. Then if you put $2,000 in your IRA today, let's say you're 35, that's a nice number to play with, then you could keep it in there until, 59.5 is when you can draw it out, but it'll be in your 70s someplace before you must take it out, as the law is constructed now. But let's say 65, 30 years, all right? Let's say you put $2,000 in there, and there's no deduction allowing you to put it in, but you can put the $2,000 there, and that $2,000 will not now be taxed at this 15% rate you described, or $300, right?
Right.
So now we got $300 sitting there for the next 30 years that is going to earn interest. That $300 that you would have sent down to Washington come next April 15th, all right? And if we can assume you pick an interest rate, 8%?
Okay.
What would it be, 12, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, every 6 years. Is that correct? 12, 20, 30, 40, 60?
Yeah.
72. It's going to double in 6 years. So the 300 becomes 600. We got 10 doublings, right? No, 5 doublings.
Right.
So we go to 6, to 12, to 24, to 48, to 96. We're going to have $9,600 in that IRA in interest on monies that we would have sent to Washington. If you were in the 50% tax bracket, 50%, you're still going to make yourself, in the illustration we've just agreed upon, $24, what would be, help me, $2,400 net for doing nothing. What's wrong with that?
It's a question of what the tax rates are going to be.
I'm making it 50%.
I hear you.
Make it 75%. Make it 80%. Be absurd. You're still going to have a ton of money in there that has been earned on money that you would have sent to Washington. And we discounted altogether the interest that we're going to make on the principal amount. We just took the taxes that we were going to send off to Washington. So you'd have a difficult time persuading me that the IRA is still not a very prudent thing to do, even having given up the deduction now. If you listen to me regularly, you knew years ago I was saying, well, the government really screwed up. They gave us all a break with the IRA. They're going to take that away from us. And I was right, they did. Because as soon as those guys in Washington figure out there's something good for us, they're not going to let you have it very long.
Yep. There's no equity. It's who has the money. We want it, take it.
Well, that's you would never get a big argument about me from me about that. But I've been picking on these. I may as well get it out in the open too. I'm on the one hand, I'm picking on these guys in Washington regularly, right?
Right.
I also support their pay raise. What do you think of that?
Okay.
There's a contradiction, huh? Hey, thanks for sharing with me. You got to try to always stay ahead of these rascals. That's what it comes down to. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Last night on the way to the Christmas party, Michael we call him Mr. Klutz. Now Michael was being very generous in my car, and we had a carload of people. There was Sheila and Dick and one of the lovely young secretaries here, Joe. We're all in the back seat of my car. So Michael, being a nice guy, he pulls the seat forward, those power seats, and pulverizes my telephone in the process. Turns it into trash. Happily, Brian, our ROD representative, is a very talented repairman, has taken Michael right off the hook and has taken all these little pieces of plastic and put them together with epoxy and then hit it with a fistful of pixie dust from Disney World. And now, hopefully, when I go home tonight, my telephone will be operative again. Michael, on the other hand, is on his knees praying that it'll be operative again because this is about 6 weeks' pay he just invested in the new telephone if he didn't. So... yes, and Brian just remarked what an obligation that Michael has picked up in this whole thing. Yes, life in the fast lane. Enid, Oklahoma. I got to tell you something. You notice how quick our life is around here, huh? Do we talk about our telephones? What's on your mind, sweetheart?
Well, hi. I'm calling because I'm going to be moving to Atlanta from Enid, Oklahoma in about 6 months.
Culture shock.
A welcome one, though.
Why are you making this transition?
Well, my husband's in the military, and he's going to be getting out of the military and hopefully hiring on with an airline.
To do a little flying?
Yes.
He's an airplane driver?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Going to be based in Atlanta. Let me see. Based in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking at Delta, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hopefully. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that.
What does your husband drive now?
He's an instructor pilot, and he flies a T-37.
Mm-hmm.
So...
well, I hope I'll catch one of his planes one of these days.
Yeah, he's a good pilot, so it would be pretty safe, I think.
I hope so. Not the kind of guy you're talking to here, a wounded smiling Jack. So what can I do for you to help you make this transition a little easier?
Well, I graduated from college in 1987, and it was in marketing and also in management, so I have a double degree.
By golly.
And I haven't been able to use it to its full advantage here in Enid, although I've tried pretty hard. And I just wanted a couple hints about how to market myself for Atlanta and also what kind of salary I might be able to expect.
Well, I can't. In a second, I can't help you at all. I have no idea what you can earn.
Well, not what I can earn in the long run, but in the short run, I don't want to undersell myself. And in Enid, Oklahoma, the job market here, I'm pretty much used to minimum wage or $4 an hour.
Well, hopefully you're kidding me. You can't.
No, I'm not kidding you. It's pretty bad around here, so.
Well, do you have any idea what kind of a business you're going to attack?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay, I'd like very much either to work in an advertising agency or to work for a magazine.
Well, there's not many magazines published, I don't believe, in Atlanta, are there?
No, there's only, well, there's the Atlanta magazine, which is their regional publication for Atlanta. So that was one of the places that I was thinking of applying, or any kind of advertising agency that's there, or anything in public relations. But basically, it's still continuing in the marketing direction.
Well, are you going to try to do this from Enid, or are you going to try to do it when you get there?
I'm going to try. My parents live in Alpharetta, which is right out of Atlanta, so...
To go visit?
I'm going to go visit in May and try and start putting out my resumes while I'm there.
Well, forget the... where did you get the idea that resumes are what you want to put out? What are you laughing at? What did I do now? I mean, I'm minding my own business here, talking to you, and you're laughing at me.
Because...
You debilitated me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Why resumes?
Because that's what they always tell you, so...
Who is they?
They is business schools.
That's why they're in business school, not in business.
That's probably true.
The resumes are a tool, but putting out unsolicited resumes is just creating another trash problem. The solid waste problem increases geometrically every June and July when the kids are out of school.
Yes.
What you want to do is get down into that area, and it's so much more easily done on the scene, and you might want to accelerate that getaway time. I think I would if I were you.
Okay.
Because I go visit my parents a little earlier than that.
Okay.
And you're going to make a 2 or 3 week attack on the job market.
Okay.
And you don't just attack firms that are looking for help. You attack firms that are looking for that have the potential for using your services, and there is a difference in the two.
Okay.
It's so necessary for you to find out who's making the decisions.
All right.
If you want to get into, you mentioned public relations for the sake of discussion, all right?
All right.
Well, that road is kind of convoluted. There are public relations firms that obviously handle account people. Mm-hmm. There are also in-house public relations people. Is that not true?
Very.
All right, so you want to start looking at the firms that you'd like to go to work with. And then doing some research, finding out who the decision makers are in those firms.
Okay.
And then writing each of these people individual letters.
I see.
On top of all that, how long have your folks lived in that area?
Just a year.
Well, then they're brand new, too.
Pretty much.
What does your dad do for a living? What does your mother do?
My dad is a civil engineer for a large company, and my mom is a mom.
All right. Well, your mother, we won't write her off entirely. But what I'm trying to get to is here we go with the networking caper again.
Yeah.
All of the people that your father has met through business, all of the people that your mom has met socially who have husbands or wives that are active in business.
Okay.
Take a look and see if any of them work for your target firms.
Well, I know one that does.
Well, that's one that starts. All right. Why are we laughing about all this? Because you're nervous.
Yes. Because I'm nervous and I laugh when I'm nervous.
Okay.
And I laugh in general.
Well, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But you see what I mean by using the resume caper is the last step.
Okay.
Use every contact, every tool that's at your disposal.
Okay.
And I think you'd be, as I said, far better advised to get up there a couple, 3 months ahead of time.
Okay, that sounds good.
And spend some time there. I'm sure your husband will miss you, but he'll
appreciate it if I get a good job.
I was going to say he'd appreciate you more when you got back. Hear about his romantic totem pole here. Anyway, that's the way I would attack the
Okay, I have one more question really fast.
Sure.
Okay, the jobs that I have had here, is it all right to put a job down even though I didn't get paid for it, as far as...
For example?
I've been the first vice president for the Officers' Wives Club on base.
Sure, why not? That shows an interest in your environment, the fact that you're accepted by your peers, and you realize I shouldn't even talk to you, because after all, you're running around with officers, and I was a grunt and a listed type.
Oh no, you're a grunt?
Oh, I was the gruntiest of grunts. I was a corporal in the Air Force.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you didn't even talk to peasants like me, do you?
Not really.
That's so. All right, and now you're looking to me for advice. Let me tell you something. You know what one of the high points of my life was?
What?
When I hired my first general.
Oh my gosh! Now that wouldn't be bad.
You see, I'm of age now. I start running around with generals. See.
Oh, that would be great.
But well, not really. But that's another program.
Yeah.
But the point, I was strictly a corporal. Oh yeah. Your husband's in the Air Force?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got entertained by the head of SAC here a couple of years ago.
Wow.
4-star general, right? And I walked into the room, and I had a full bull colonel carrying my coat, I want you to know. And I walked in, and we got talking. I said, General, do you know who you're dealing with? He said, I said, Corporal Williams. So watch yourself. General Benjamin Davis, a gentleman then and a gentleman now.
Oh, that's great.
I do wish you well, dear. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
It has been a joy. I'm Bruce Williams. Corporal Williams at that. And somewhere out there, there is a guy who had a southern accent that was classic. I have no idea what his first name was because they never shared that kind of classified information with you. But at Lackland Air Force Base, he was what they called a flight chief. And his name all ran together. His name was C-P-L-A-L-L-A-N-S-I-R. One word, Corporal Allen Sir. And I still think of him that way, how many decades later? This is Bruce Williams. And the sucker didn't promote me either. This is Talknet. You know, I suspect in the last however many years, how many years has it been? I was in Korea. I mean, that's a long time ago, kids. I rather suspect that I have met, oh goodness, certainly 30, 40,000 people at the least. I mean, doing what I do and other things in my life. And I probably, unfortunately, haven't remembered too terribly many names. But there was a name that's impressed on me till the day I die. Corporal Allen. 954th Flight at Lackland Air Force Base. Flight 954, basic training. Oh, yeah, and they had the, I can remember they said, write down your serial number. You got to be kidding me. I would die. I mean, if I'll go to my grave, I could repeat that stupid serial number. No way I ever had to write that down. That and Corporal Allen, sir, it all runs together. What that guy ever say? I wonder if there's anybody know a guy? He was in the South. I mean, all those guys in the South. I mean, they never had a flight chief. It didn't come from the Carolinas, Mississippi, Kentucky. That's what all these guys. Even if you didn't, you came from New York. You learned how to talk Southern, But otherwise, they wouldn't give you that kind of a job. You walked around with those little helmet liners on that was shined with lacquer and whatever. Those were the days when you didn't have any civil rights when you're in the service. Today, they got civil rights and you get a complaint. No. You made a mistake. You were chewing gum, for example, as Michael is in there working on his gum right now. They'd say, well, dig a grave for it. Yeah, I'm telling you, dig a hole, bury the gum. And then you have to disinter it. Go on down, dig down it. Well, I wasn't that dumb. I used to have the next piece of gum, chew it up. That was the piece I got out of the ground, Then they make you chew the piece that you dug out of the ground. Oh, yeah. Or take all the pebbles in one parking lot and move them into a pile. With your fingers, of course. And then put them back. You got any idea how many pebbles in the parking lot? Oh, yeah. Anyway, Corporal Allen, if you're listening, give me a call. I promised to poke you in the mouth then. Maybe we're both too old. It wouldn't happen. Anyway, we go to Clio, Michigan. Hello there.
Yeah, it's Clio, Michigan.
Yes, sir. Imagine that young kid just now. She's not going to talk to me because I was a corporal, an officer's wife. What are you going to do about that? What's on your mind?
Well, I'm getting married in about 4.5 days to the most wonderful...
4.5 days, right before Christmas?
Yeah.
My goodness gracious.
Well, the problem I've got, though, is that my future in-laws are refusing to come to our wedding.
Oh, what a shame. Why?
Well, I'm Catholic, and they're very strict Baptist.
So what? That's the Dark Ages stuff.
Yeah, I know it.
Who is performing the ceremony?
We're getting married by the mayor here of our city.
Oh, you're not going to get married in either church, huh?
Well, it's a case of since they aren't going to help us out, and they won't have anything to do with us, we're going to have to pull out ourselves, and we're just getting started out, so we have to.
Well, you could still have a religious ceremony if you chose to, and you could have a clergyman today in this feeling of ecumenicism. You could have a clergyman from both faiths. I mean, when I was married a million years ago, I married someone outside my faith, or she outside her faith, and it was a lot less accepted then than it is today. Fortunately, both families were extremely giving and sympathetic toward the thing.
All we thought we might do is, on our first anniversary, funds should be better, and we'd have a nice wedding and a nice reception afterwards.
Nothing wrong. Of our own. Look, let me tell you something. It's not the debris that you have in a wedding. It's not the wedding cake. It's not the reception and the dances and all that sort of thing. It's marrying somebody that you love.
Well, I love her very much, so I don't have to worry about that.
You want to really get unnerved? I married a bunch of people. I was a mayor for a while, and mayors, I guess in Michigan as well as in my state, could perform marriage ceremonies.
Right.
I always thought in the back of my mind those people were really, really not married. They're not very married when I did the job, but that's a whole other program. Well, listen, it's unfortunate that they are. I mean, I can understand people that are devout in their religious belief, and it's very difficult to fault that. On the other side of that, you and your fiancé are adults, and you have the right, and I guess indeed the responsibility, to make an adult decision as to whether or not you will be married in a particular faith or indeed any faith.
Right.
And it just seems to me that are they going to continue to have a relationship with their daughter? Or are they just going to say, you're out of our life?
They haven't talked to her except for maybe once or twice in the last probably 2 or 3 months.
That's so stupid.
And
it really is.
I've been beating myself against the wall thinking, well, what could I have possibly done to make them think that I'm such a bad person or anything? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't do drugs, I don't drink. I've always been the very polite young man, and
it's the height of stupidity. I mean, that's old country stuff that we used to see 50, 100 years ago. There are still people who are very religious who will, I'm sure, are listening to this, who are saying that I'm a blasphemer and a whole bunch of other things, and in my opinion, they can do whatever they have to do. But it just seems to me that I cannot. It's hard for me to believe that there's a God in heaven that would endorse that kind of activity.
Right. I was always brought up, you don't, when everybody dies,
responsibility to say, well, we raised you in our belief, and that was our right. We felt our responsibility, but now that you're an adult, you make your own decisions. There are just so many really rotten things. I mean, really terrible things committed in the name of religion.
Right.
Have you discussed this with their clergyman?
No, we really haven't. I've tried to get over there and talk with their parents, and see if we could work something out where we could at least have a friendly relationship. Sure. I don't expect them to open me with open arms.
Why not?
Well, if they're that set in their ways that they're going to practically disown their own daughter because she's marrying outside the faith, I don't expect them to take me in under their wing and as a son, but I would at least like to be able to have a nice relationship, if for no other sake except for my fiancé's.
Of course. How old are you guys?
I'm 18 and she's 19. But we've known each other. We've been best friends. We grew up together. We've known each other for going on 13 years, and we've worked together at the same jobs. And
well, you are very young. Is there any objection on the because of your age?
No, it's not. That point has been made very clear. It's not. As a matter of fact, it was told to my fiance's grandmother and got back to us that if she'd marry anybody else, they'd be happy to open up their arms to them and pay for the wedding and all this, as long as it was within their faith.
Have you talked to their clergyman?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I think you really ought to. I mean, he may be just as intransigent as they are, and that's his shortcoming, certainly not yours. But I'd talk to the guy or to the woman, whatever. Are they? Well, if I thought it would help, I'd say I'd call them for you, kid.
Yeah.
Do they ever listen to us?
To be honest with you, I don't even think they own a radio. That's how way out they are. I mean, very strict, very, very strict. I mean, any radio, any TV, movies, I mean, it's strictly of the devil. And
oh, well, these people are off the wall. I mean, that's just off the wall.
I just wanted to get another opinion on it. My family's all prejudiced against it because of the way they've treated us. And
well, your family is not handling it all that well either.
Right.
You have no control over that, nor does she. You have no more control over what her family's doing than she has of what your family's doing.
Right.
I'll have a chat with him as well. He's like a nice guy. She sounds like a nice lady. You guys go out and do your own thing.
Oh, thanks a lot,
If
Bruce.
we can help you in some way, you give us a shout.
Okay. I really enjoy your program.
When are you getting married?
Huh?
When are you getting married?
The 21st at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Your bride's got to have wedding flowers, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to provide them?
I am.
Why don't you let us provide those?
Will you?
Yeah, I would take that as a real honor.
Oh,
You give Michael your address and all that good stuff, and you tell. Or is your bride around now?
No, she's not right now. She's at work.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to have Michael give you a telephone number where I can be reached tomorrow.
Okay.
You tell me what kind of flowers she'd like, and I'd like to provide them for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, you hold on now, son.
Okay, God bless.
Okay, kid. You have to hold on, folks. Dead air while I tell Michael my personal number. Okay, we took care of that little piece of business. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. This is Talknet. Alrighty, we go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hello there. Welcome to Talknet.
Hi, Bruce. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing very well, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm starting a new job. Well, actually, I'm graduating from the University of Alabama. Roll Tide.
You must be good looking, because everybody in the University of Alabama is good looking.
Of course.
Of course.
It's that pride.
Is that what does it, huh?
Yeah, the pride and the tide.
Uh-huh.
Well, listen, I'm starting a new job in 1989, and I was trying to figure out what my net salary would be.
Let's talk about it. How much are you going to make?
Well, I'm starting at $28,000.
Right, so that's about, what,
3.33.
No, I'm looking at $2,300 a month?
Right, gross.
And, well, so let's do it another way. Divide that number by 26.
By 26? Okay.
Yeah, you're going to get paid bi-weekly.
Right.
In all likelihood. So you divide that by 26.
Yes.
And you can knock off about 15% for federal income tax.
Okay.
And knock off about 7.5% for Social Security.
Oh, wow.
And then,
okay.
Hold on, we ain't done yet, kid.
Okay.
And I don't know what your unemployment tax will be, but let's throw a point in there for that. Do you have a state income tax in Alabama?
Yes, we do.
How much is that? Do you know?
Well, the job is going to be in Houston.
Well, Texas, they have a state income tax too, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll knock off another 4% for that.
God. Okay. Am I going to be taking anything home?
Well, hold on now. Do you have to belong to a union or anything?
No.
Okay. Do you have any? Do you have to contribute to any fringe benefits like health insurance or whatever?
Yes, it's going to be like about $10 a month for that.
Well, knock off about $4.50 then. And then that's what your take-home pay will be every 2 weeks, or thereabouts.
Okay. I was just trying to, and will it increase as my salary increases? It will.
What'd you say you majored in?
Management science.
Boy, and you had to ask that question.
Well.
Let's retract.
I was hoping.
Yes, as your salary increases.
I mean, will the 15% federal, will that go up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when you make, enough money.
Will it go past 15%?
Yeah, it'll jump to 28%.
Oh, great.
Well, you hope it does, because that means you're making bigger money.
Yeah, but I'm paying more taxes.
Well, would you rather, listen, I got a way to pay no taxes. Don't work at all.
No, that's okay. After 4 years of college, I think I'm ready.
You're ready. How come you're going to Houston? That's where the job is, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that why you're going to Houston?
That's the only reason.
Well, Houston's a nice town.
Well, when you've been in Alabama for so long, why go to Houston? It just doesn't seem logical.
I'm going to ignore that.
Okay.
Why not go to Houston?
Well, Alabama's such a beautiful state. It's hard to leave.
But is that where you were raised all your life?
All my life.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere a little new? A new adventure?
Okay.
I mean, goodness gracious, that's what life is all about. It should be a buffet.
Okay.
That means you're going to sample a little bit here, a little bit there. Now, you've had a pretty good stopover at the Alabama part of the buffet.
Right.
Now you're going to move on to Texas, and who knows, you may get to go to the West Coast before it's over, and maybe.
No.
Have you ever been to the West Coast?
No.
I've
heard things.
What's your first name? I only have a couple seconds.
Angie.
Angie, don't knock what you don't know.
Okay.
Never say you don't like escargot unless you've at least eaten one snail.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious.
I can say that with faith. I think I don't.
No.
No.
Angie, 10 seconds.
Okay.
You will be cheating yourself all your life if you operate under that contention.
Okay.
Forget about that. Try the escargot. Okay. Go for the. Then after you've had it and you don't like it, you've made a decent, considered, intelligent judgment.
Okay.
I wish you well, sweetheart.
All right.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. How many hours do you have to be there? And then what do you do? Or maybe the question maybe be asked a little differently. What is it exactly that you do?
That I do?
No.
You're
buying someplace. Come on, kid. Right. You say, what do you do? What is your what? If I'm going to take your place, what do I have to do? Now, if you ask me about this business, I'd say, though I've just described to you, I'm being deliberately obscure for obvious reasons.
Right.
I'd say nothing. Sign the tax forms. Talk to the accountant once in a while. Because that's my contribution. I put the money up. That was it. On the other hand, there are other businesses that I'm involved with, which 7 days a week I've got a contribution to make.
Well, that's what I'm looking at probably doing, is investing a lot of my time in the work. That was what I was wanting. What I was ideally hoping for is putting down $20,000 to $30,000, putting the rest back, and just investing my time and effort into doing the work.
Yeah, but you're walking around the question I posed to you. You're thinking about buying an existing business.
Uh-huh.
In order to evaluate its value, these are the questions that one must ask.
Okay.
Do you see why? Understand why? One business, the guy maybe killed himself 80 hours a week, and that's not unheard of.
Right.
Well, that business, and he's making $40,000 a year. Well, he hasn't even bought himself a good job. On the other hand, he may make the same $80,000. He stops in once a month to sign a check. That's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm looking to do, basically, buy myself a job with the money. Buy myself
But how? You see, you don't have to spend very much money to buy a job. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
Now, have you looked at a specific enterprise?
Yeah, in fact, I've checked into...
All right, walk me through the specific enterprise.
Okay, well, one of them that I've looked into is a local franchise.
Yeah.
But they want 19.5%, and that's off the gross.
The franchise does?
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of high.
I wouldn't even consider such a thing.
Yeah.
What are they doing for you for that 19.5%?
Well, they're 10% is for the franchise fee, 3% is for the billing, that they do the billing, and they say they guarantee you will receive a check at the first of every month, and they'll do the collecting, and then the other 3.5% covers the workman's comp and the insurance.
That only is the 17%.
Yeah, well, it's. Yeah, you're right. No, it all together comes. I forget what all they had in there, but it did come to 19.5%.
Well, not by the hair of my chinny chin.
Yeah, that's what I.
No way.
That was one.
First thing, all right, go ahead. Give me another quickie. I got to get out of here.
Okay, another quickie would be an individual that wants to sell a business that he says brings him in $31,000 a year.
Now, what does that mean? Brings him in?
Well, he said it brings in. He says that's gross.
Well, that's all right. Then they use the word gross, not brings him in.
Yeah. Well, if it's gross.
If it gross is 31,000, the business it has. You're listening to me, son.
Oh, sorry.
If it grosses 31,000, it has no value, whatever.
Okay.
If he were to pay for his waxing machines and whatever, you'd be doing him a favor. 31 grand. Come you say,
Nothing. Yeah.
What the hell is left when you get all done at the end of the year? Nada.
Not much.
Well, he has nothing to sell. That's why he wants to sell it, because he's got nothing.
Okay, I follow.
I mean, do the arithmetic.
Right.
31,000 is $600 a week. Well, the time you pay your overhead, what do you got left?
Not a lot. But
Nothing.
he says he has very little overhead.
Yeah, but how many hours a week is he working?
He says between 50 and 60.
Yeah. Well, if I said, what's your first? I got to let you go, Kim. Kim. Tim. Hey, Tim, I got a great opportunity for you. I want you to come to work for my business in Tampa. I do own a business in Tampa, right?
Okay.
I'm going to pay you $31,000. I'm going to pay you $25,000 a year. And I want you to work 60 hours a week or thereabouts. What would you say to me?
I'd say that's not enough.
You'd say you're crazy, what you'd say. Well, that's what you're talking about paying 40 grand for.
Right.
That's even crazier. At least I'm just want you to come to work. I'm not going to charge you $40,000 for the privilege.
Okay, I follow you.
You got to figure out what the thing is worth. And so far, everything you described to me, in my opinion, as a negative value.
Well, can you really quickly tell me how much of a business I can buy for $35,000 on a service?
It depends in large measure on how desperate the owner is. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for some guy that really wants to get out badly. Maybe he broke his leg. Maybe he's too old. Who knows?
Okay.
That's the guy you're looking for. Not looking for some guy. How old is this guy who wants to sell his other business?
He's retiring. He's 58.
And how long has he had it?
He's had it for about 5 years.
Well, something wrong with him. That he could only do that little bit of business in that length of time.
Right.
I do wish you well, guy.
Well, thank you.
Good talking to you. I'm Bruce Williams. Our telephone number 800-743-8000. This is Talknet. El Paso, Texas. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. I'm flying from El Paso to Boston, and I was supposed to change planes in Chicago, but the plane departing from El Paso was late coming in.
Boy, what a new story this is, huh?
Yeah, and so they told me that I might miss my connection in Chicago, and so they, offered to put me up overnight in the hotel in El Paso so I could get an early morning flight.
That is extremely unusual. Usually, no, serious.
Is it?
Yes, sir. Ordinarily, if you haven't departed yet, you started initially in El Paso, right?
Right.
It's on you. Too late. Sorry, Charlie. If you got hung up in Chicago mid-trip,
Yeah.
then they oftentimes will put you up. So what they offered you is very unusual. In my experience, it never happened.
Yeah. Well, they felt that they would have to put me up into Chicago anyway.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But as I say, in my experience, and let me tell you, I've had a lot of these things happen. I've never had an airline offer to give me a place to stay where I was originating.
Yeah. Well, I'm a handicapped person, so maybe that.
That could have been a factor. Sure. What is the nature of your handicap?
I'm blind.
Okay, that might have been the reason.
Yeah.
Because trust me, in this one, it's not ordinary. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm wondering is, are they under any obligation to refund money for the trip?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
I see. Okay.
As I said, what they did, they went an extra 30 yards for you in this instance. Honestly, they did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay, Guy. Did you finally get where you wanted to get? To Boston?
No, I'm still in the hotel. I'm going to fly out tomorrow.
Oh, well, this happened today, huh?
Yeah, I'd come right away because I wanted to check with you and see just what I should expect or whatever.
Well, you got more than most of us would get, I can tell you that.
Okay. That's good. Well, I appreciate your
all right, Guy.
filling me in on that.
Have a good trip, my friend.
Same to you and a Happy New Year.
And to you and yours. Thank you very much. Daniel, where are we going now? Sacramento, California. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi.
My name's Doug.
Yeah,
I have a problem with a heating company I've used, and I wanted to talk to you about two issues maybe you could help me with.
Talk to me.
Great. Of course, this happens on a weekend. It was a Sunday.
Doesn't it always? There's something written into most appliances, explode on weekends and after hours only.
It seems to follow through.
Of course.
So I called, and they told me, sure, they'd be happy to come out and see it. It's overtime, and we charge for from the time they leave their office to the time they get back and finish, which I thought was a little unusual.
No, they charge you for road time. Now, there's not necessarily the same rate, but they oftentimes charge you for it's called travel time.
Anyway, well, they came out, and he decided that a thermocouple was bad, but he didn't have the part, so he would send somebody out the next day. The following day, somebody came out. I wasn't there. My wife was there. But I talked to the guy on the phone. He said, well, your thermocouple may or may not be bad, but your coil's bad. But I don't know.
What coil is this?
This is on
it's a heat pump?
Actually, it's an Aquavac.
No, but is it a heat pump of some kind?
Right.
Okay.
Along a water heater type of thing.
Well, no, wait a minute. I'm missing. What do you mean a water type of thing? What are you talking about?
An Aquavac, it doesn't have a storage capacity for hot water, but it keeps the water on demand.
Well, it's like a coil. It's a tankless heater. It's called.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, a lady called about that the other night. Go ahead.
So he says, the thermocouple may or may not be bad, but your coil's bad, but we don't have one. So we'll come out and fix it again. So it comes out, and I said, well, fine, replace the coil, but don't use the thermocouple yet.
Why did you say that?
Well, because he said the thermocouple, it seemed to work It didn't work once, but yet it did work after that.
Well, but then you specifically said don't put it in.
Right.
Go ahead.
You can see this coming, right?
Yeah, and then the thermocouple, then they had to make another trip with the thermocoupler, and they want to charge you for it.
The third trip, they replaced the coil and the thermocouple.
Well, wait a minute. We skipped ahead here somehow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up.
Because you told them don't change the thermocouple.
Right.
That was on trip number 2 when we're waiting for the
coil.
Go ahead.
So trip number 3, he replaces the coil and the thermocouple. Okay.
Well, why did they replace it? I thought you told them not to.
I did. You're absolutely right. That was one of the 2 issues.
Go ahead.
And then so I thought I'd wait for the bill, and the bill came, and he's charging me 3 hours worth, each visit being 1 hour. Yeah. My problem with this is if they had the part, they could have just done it. Maybe another half an hour's worth.
All right.
But now instead, I'm getting charged with 3 separate visits plus this part that I did not consent to.
Well, the only place I think you have a complaint. I mean, you might be unhappy, but the only place you got, I think, an area where you may win it is the thermocouple.
Really?
How much is involved in that?
Oh, it's $50.
Probably better off to have it in there.
Yeah, that really wasn't the quibbling part.
No, I understand. The rest of it, the fact they didn't have a part, it's almost impossible to expect these guys to have every part in stock. It's not going to happen.
True. Now,
do you know why? In many states?
Why?
Because the state imposes an inventory tax.
Oh?
Yeah. And so the companies have said, we're not keeping any inventory anymore because, after all, if we keep it in one place in a state that doesn't charge it, then we bring it in when we need it, no tax. And you can imagine that those taxes can be millions and millions of dollars.
Now, do you think it's reasonable for me to pay for 3 hours labor where 3 hours labor time where...
Well, again, we're talking about travel time. And a lot of the service companies, you can argue the point, say, look, our guy is tied up, whether he's turning the wrench or driving a truck, and you got to pay for it. Good luck, guy. I'm Bruce for Talknet. We go down to Caldwell, Idaho. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
I'm a little nervous, so you have to bear with me.
Me too. I'm scared to death.
Are you?
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah. They say I'm so relaxed. It's weird. I'm going to send. Matter of fact, I can tell you now. These guys in the studio are going to get a whole bunch of pictures. I just moved our studio from my office in Florida to my home in Florida. We needed the extra space over there. We needed some more computers and that jazz. So I moved the whole thing into my family room where I can sit here and watch the boats go past on the Gulf of Mexico, and my feet on the coffee table with Mickey the Mutt on the couch. I am I'm so nervous. I mean, oh boy. I'm going to send these guys nice blown up pictures so they can eat their heart out.
It must be nice.
It ain't bad, man. There's no heavy lifting, and it's indoor work, and it pays better than minimum wage.
Oh, that's good. At least you have a house. That's part of my problem.
What's the problem, kid?
Well, the problem is I have a defaulting party in closing on my house. And
hold it. A defaulting party. I don't quite understand what you just said.
Okay, well, we were supposed to close on a property today.
You were buying?
We're buying.
Yeah.
And the builder does not have it complete. And today was the closing date.
Well, if it's not complete, how are you going to... It's unusual for a lender to allow you to close.
Well, that's correct.
Without a certificate of occupancy.
That's correct.
And you don't get that till the house is done.
That's right. But we signed a purchase agreement with the builder in October.
That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't?
No, sir. What you go ahead. You were saying you were under the impression.
I was under the impression that they set closing date at the 31st on the purchase agreement, and if the builder wasn't prepared to close on the property that we're purchasing by that date, he becomes the defaulting party. Just like if my financing wasn't in order, I would be the defaulting party.
Well, you say defaulting. He could find 37,500 reasons why he's not in default.
Okay.
There was a labor dispute in Dubuque, Iowa, and we didn't get the faucets in time. Or the nail manufacturer in Taiwan gave us a problem, a labor problem. There's a lot of ways to get out from under Now, why is it so imperative that you close on the 31st?
Well, we've been without a house for a month.
Yeah,
we sold our previous house, and we agreed on a closing date because they had told us that this house would be done by the first part of December, so we thought we could rough it with...
This is your first house, right?
Right.
First time you had a builder. Well...
Yeah.
This is right there with the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, the Great Pumpkin. I'm not going to tell you it never happens, but more often than not, it does not happen.
Okay.
When I had some work done on my home about a month ago, right? This month, as a matter of fact. You know, I had some reupholstery done and window treatments and that sort of thing. Well, not the reason I was getting done, but I really wanted it done because I'm not sure the term. Customarily, I've had an open house on Christmas Eve in my home for a good many years, and I wanted the stuff done for Christmas Eve, right?
Right.
Do you think I told the decorator and those guys Christmas Eve? I was kicking and screaming, holding my breath, and turning purple in the early part of December.
Yeah.
Because I knew doggone well if I said Christmas Eve was never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much that. It's they told us it would be done well before closing date, so we kind of planned on that.
But you were young and foolish.
Well, I didn't take his word for it because I extended my interest rate lock for another 30 days. But that was the only thing I was concerned with. I don't want to make bad feelings with the builder. Not a question of bad feelings. It just doesn't happen, son. Yeah. But it's so unusual to have it. Now, you could say, look, let's assume that you want to build a house. And you're not building a house is being built on his property, I assume. Right. You don't own anything right now. Right. Okay. You can go into a contract with a builder that says for every day you're late, I get $100. Okay. Or $200. But do you know what the corollary of that is? No. For every day I'm early, you pay me $100 or $200. And suppose you come in a month early. I get a large-sized picture of you saying, "Oh, happy day! I'll give you whatever the number would be, $3,000 in this case." Yeah. You wouldn't have. Well, that's the way that works. So when's it going to be finished? Well, it looks like they're about 2 weeks out. And like I said, we were just kind of curious. We had to pay extra money to extend the lock, and it would have been refundable had we not used it. And we were just wanting to know if there was any way we could get them to compensate. Well, you could discuss it with them, but I wouldn't hold my breath. You have an attorney in this matter? I've been shopping for one. I definitely... Shopping for one? You were going to close tomorrow. What do you mean shopping for one? I've known for about 2 weeks that there was no way we were going to close today. Oh, what is your first name? Wayne. How old are you, Wayne? I'm 27. Well, you're acting like 16, but that's a lot of people do, Wayne. You don't get an attorney the day you close. You should have an attorney the day you went into this deal. Yeah. Well, I know I've always felt all the way along like we should have had an attorney. Well, why didn't you? Purchase agreement before we ever. Well, why didn't you? Well, I thought it was only a purchase agreement. Oh, what the hell? How much you paying for this house, Wayne? $118,000. Chump change. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have a lawyer review the closing papers before we close. But you were going to close today. Well, or tomorrow. Wayne. Yes. Ain't the way you do it, baby. All right. You don't I guess I better shop a little harder. That's like saying, well, listen, I'm going to look for the doctor after the heart attack. You don't do it then. Well, at this point, I don't have my neck out very far with the purchase agreement. Well, how do you know that, Wayne? Well... Are you a lawyer? You've done this so often, you know about those things, right? Well, I've done it once. It's my second house, so I... Well, okay. I'm not trying to pick on your kid. You've had no experience, son. I've probably closed on 50 properties. More than that. I'm closing on one next month. Now, do you think for a moment, and I think I know a little bit more about real estate than you do, when they sent the, quote, standard contract to me on my fax machine, just to get, and this was by the way, the guy was buying the house from me, and it's a tad more expensive than one you're talking about. It's a cash deal. You don't find that many people willing to write a check for several $100,000, right? Yeah. Right? Right.
But given all that, I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I think he's on a ski trip. Well, I found Nate before he went, and he said, okay, he came to my house on a Sunday afternoon. Sat there in my kitchen, looked it over, and said, okay, kid, go for it. Now, does that make me so much dumber than you are?
No.
I don't think so. I don't sign contracts without an attorney saying okay. And if you're as smart as you sound, and you sound like an articulate, nice guy, you might pull it off 15 times. But the 16th time, you'll have your drawers down, and you'll lose all you saved in multiples.
Yeah.
It's just not smart. And I'm prepared to argue that at any stage, anywhere in the country.
I've heard you say that many times.
Well, I believe it. I mean, I have 5 kids. Well, one of them is an attorney, which I believe. I can't imagine her representing her brothers and sisters. But 3 or 4 of them have purchased real estate now. 3 of them. 3 out of 5 have purchased real estate. And do you think they went naked?
Probably not with you as their father.
You bet your life they didn't. I'd have killed them. Good luck with a new home, guy.
Okay, thanks, Bruce.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. Let's go now to Clearwater, Florida, and say hello.
Hello, Bruce.
Hello, sweetheart.
Hi. Pleased to be on your show.
Well, you're my neighbor. How could I say otherwise?
Oh, that's great.
You're right up there. You're right down the street from me.
Oh, great. And where in Florida is it that you come?
I'm just a little north of you. I don't want to be very specific, but about 18 miles up the coast.
It's a great state.
It certainly is. I can look out the window here now and watch the boats go past on the Gulf. It ain't bad.
Oh.
What's on your mind, baby?
Well, Bruce, I wanted to call and discuss with you a really great Christmas present that we received. It's, I guess, commonly referred to as a black box, which was just a great thrill to install this box that tapped into our existing basic cable system that we have in the house and allow us to get really great channels.
Is it legal?
Well, that's my question to you. It was a gift to us.
Well, gifts can, if they gave you a little stash of Coke, that wouldn't make it legal.
I guess I have several questions, and one is, how can a retailer or a company who develops such a product and markets it sell it if it's illegal?
Well, that's, again, we're back to the illustration I just gave you. A little more covertly, they sell narcotics, but they're still sold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if this you pay nobody, you get right into the cable system, and you don't pay anybody, right?
Well, we do pay our monthly basic cable bill, yes.
But this thing allows you to tap the rest of the stuff?
Yes, sir.
I would be willing to bet you onions to cheese that you have a illegal piece of equipment.
Okay, I guess my next question is, I mean, my friend, it was a gift to us, and my friend has purchased one as well, so where does the liability lie? A couple of questions.
For you.
As a consumer of a product that is sold through a retailer, I can be held responsible for the legal,
Well, let's use another illustration, shall we? In Florida, you can go out and buy a handgun with very little problem. Is that not true?
Yes.
But if you use the handgun improperly, or alternatively, if you take it into Georgia where you're not allowed to do what you can do in Florida, is the retailer the guy guilty or you?
Well, in this case, though, the product...
No, hold it. Who's guilty?
You said if I use the gun improperly.
Well, any use of this black box is improper unless you unless you notify the cable people and pay them the appropriate tariffs.
So I guess my question is, how could this product be used legally?
Perhaps in a jurisdiction where there is no such law. I don't know where that would be.
And I guess my other question is, what danger am I in as a consumer? I've purchased the product or I've received
the likelihood is that if it's illegal, and we don't know that, but I have to believe it is, the cable company can determine that there's an illegal product on their line.
And how do they do that?
It's the same way telephone companies used to do it. When you put, now how old are you?
34.
Okay, well, you're relatively young. It wasn't so many years ago that you were forbidden by law from buying an extra telephone from the telephone company, outside. and hook it into your house.
Even if you had that extra jack.
No, if you put a jack from them, that was a different story, but you couldn't put the extra jack in. You couldn't go out and buy a splitter and just put the thing. You just weren't permitted to do that. For whatever, rightly or wrongly, that's not the issue, right?
And this was, you said, many years ago.
Not so many years ago. Not before Judge Green. When they split the companies up, you were not allowed to go out and put extra extensions in your house without paying the phone company. And how they find out? Well, they could run a resistance thing. They'd call you and see how many bells rang. You had 2 extensions and 4 bells rang. They come rapping on your door.
How does a cable company determine what happens within your home?
What did I just get through telling you? That you can do it electronically.
That's not considered an invasion of privacy?
Why would that be? No, hold it. They're coming down on their line.
I see.
That they own, and they're saying you're doing something improper with that line. Why is that an invasion of privacy?
I guess my question is, and they can determine that just by somehow reading in
yes, ma'am.
On any...
I'm not telling you they can pick up this particular device.
But they can pick up...
Devices, of course they can. Of course they can. There are other methods, and again, for different electronic devices, by driving down the street. And they can tell what you're watching. But that was one of the ways that they proposed doing the surveys to see who was watching what.
Right.
You know, for ratings. That you can drive down the street with an antenna that will tell you what you got on your TV set. And you can say that's an invasion too. I don't know that it is.
Well, I guess my fundamental question is, I've purchased or I've received a product that is available. I've plugged it in just very simply. Now, what jeopardy am I in?
Let's do it this way. Well, I take a little time out. Maybe we can find somebody in the cable industry who's listening. I don't know. That's a possibility. Let's see what they have to say, okay? Let's just show. What's your first name?
Linda.
Linda, it's a shot in the dark, but if you're willing to take it and hang in, let's try, shall we?
Okay, great.
All right, the number is 703-413-8381. 703-413-8381. The lady was given an apparatus that you can tap into the cable company, get the premium channels without paying. That's brought down to its essence. What is her liability? Liability of the seller? What's the responsibility of the cable company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? If you're in that business, do us both a favor. 703-413-8381. Let's hope we can find someone. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Well, we have someone in Bay City, Michigan to chat with my friend in Clearwater. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing, Bruce?
Good.
So far, so good. Just staying warm.
Tell me about this. What's the circumstance here? She's got a box that she bought somewhere that allows her to tap into the cable. What is your background, by the way?
I've got almost 10 years in cable industry, and currently I'm a plant manager for a cable company.
Good enough. She's got something that allows her to tap into the premium channels at no cost.
Definitely against the law.
Okay. What's the penalty?
There's several. Well, there's a few penalties that I know of. One is a fine up to $3,000 and 90 days in jail.
Ooh, that's nice.
Well, it's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to quote anything from the FCC, but that's where it falls into. That's against the federal law, felony.
Now, how do people get away with selling these things openly?
Well, we have that similar problem up here once in a while. People produce a product where it can enable them to do such things, just like you were comparing it to a handgun, but the improper use is where it falls into line.
I see.
So to hold the person responsible or company responsible for making these, like you also mentioned that you cannot hold them responsible for making them because they're making a product that is sellable or marketable, but the person using it is the one who should, because they could contact the cable company like you suggested and said, well, I'll pay for the stuff. I don't need a box. I bought one.
And maybe get a little better price.
Well, exactly. They won't have to pay a rental price for the unit, where they bought their own box and the cable company okays it, and they can save the rental, on the box itself.
How about, let's talk a little bit about the enforcement here. I mean, how do you catch people?
That's a little harder than it seems.
Well, I'm sure it is.
There's 2 or 3 different ways, of course. The people going out and telling their neighbors that they have something, and they turn them in with eyes and ears programs. Like cable company I work for has an eyes and ears program where people do this, they get rewards.
They get free cable for a while, huh?
There you go. That's one of the examples.
Okay.
The other way that I know other cable companies are doing it, they're sending a signal down the line, just like you mentioned, that will take the chips, if it's a digital box, which I'm sure it is, take the computer chips and fry them. Basically turn them into garbage.
That's a great idea.
Well, it works, too.
It doesn't fry their own, huh?
Nope, it doesn't do anything to TV or anything. It's a signal that takes the scrambled channels and basically changes the signal or the scrambling code on the channels that automatically turn that box off, all of it.
I'll be darned.
Or it'll erase its memory, because some of those things are programmed from the manufacturer for the memory. And eventually, when the battery goes bad on that box that this lady has, it's going to lose its memory anyway.
Unless she replaces them.
Correct, and then she'd have to send it back to the manufacturer because they need a code for all the scrambling channels.
Well, don't some of them have a temporary battery in them so you can change the batteries and they don't get deprogrammed?
Yes, that's true. They do have that. If the person knows, you know,
you got to do it. You got to do it in 2 hours or something like that. There's a little, just like some VCRs, some fax machines have a little bit of power storage ability, so it doesn't when the power goes off or the batteries go dead, it doesn't automatically deprogram. You got a couple of hours to do so.
That's correct. It's a small
But in short, when cutting through all the garbage, you're a thief when you use these things.
Yes, sir.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes, sir. That's how the cable industry treats it.
Well, I don't see any other description. Thanks very much, my friend. Have a great New Year.
You have a nice night.
Clearwater, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
That's what it comes down to. You're a thief if you use it. You wouldn't walk into the 7-Eleven and shoplift, would you?
No.
Well, you're doing the same thing.
I guess my question is how you see things available in catalogs and you...
My question is, would you walk into the 7-Eleven and steal if there was nobody there? You get away with it. The answer is you wouldn't do that, would you? Well, why would you steal from the cable company? That's the moral question. I wish you well. I'm Bruce. Yeah, I want to. You have a room for rent, right, Diane? Well, come right in. Well, listen, we'll waive the first year's rent. Yeah, on a pig's eye, I would. You're an adult now. You were an adult in training up until now.
Right.
But they gave you that little black hat. They let you swing the sash over to the other side. They give you a pep talk about how the world is yours and it's your oyster. Come crack it open, right?
Right.
Well, now it's adult time, sweetheart.
Okay.
It is no longer, you're not home from vacation. You are an adult.
I know.
And part of being a very reluctant adult, albeit. Time to be an adult. I'm not saying you ought to pay them $500 a week, but I think just to show that you are mature, you ought to sit down with your partner and say, I don't want to live here for nothing. Does your mom do your clothes, too, and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely not.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. See, if you were male, she'd probably do that, too.
Absolutely. I'm sure she was.
But I really think you ought to pay a token amount. Whether your parents, spend it on the lottery or whatever, it does not mature. The fact that they don't need it is immaterial. Mm-hmm. It's what you need.
Right.
Diane, you sound like a nice young lady. You're off to an adventure. Knock 'em dead.
Thanks.
If you'd like a tape of this or any Talknet presentation, we make it very simple. $6.95, and don't forget the 95 cents, to Lion Recording, P.O. Box 962, Washington, D.C., 20044. Please tell the good folks at Lion not only the date, but the time you heard the program. That way you'll get exactly what you're looking for. I'm Bruce Williams. Glad you're here. This is Talknet. We go from Springfield, Missouri, to East Springfield, Pennsylvania. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
This is Sandy.
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. Name, rank, and serial number. Yes, Sandy.
I would like some information, if you could, about trusts, living trusts and revocable trusts agreement. I don't understand what they mean.
Well, a living trust is one that exists while you were there, and if it's revocable, you can kill it any time. But you can set up how things that you've acquired during your lifetime will go to the next generation, or not necessarily generation, but the next person in line of your choice, without having to go through a public probate.
Oh. So
that doesn't supplant a will.
What does supplant mean?
It doesn't. Oh, boy. It doesn't
take the place of it.
There you go, baby.
Serendipity, I got it. Well, the reason I'm asking is I had an aunt who passed away in 87, and she had a will. She lived in Philadelphia, which is clear across our state.
Oh, my goodness, we can't go there. My passport wasn't in order. Go ahead.
I know. But she had a will dated August 7th, 1975. And she sent me a letter after she did the will and said who the attorney was in Philadelphia and to contact him upon her death. And so anyway, she had a will, and then she also had this living trust.
Inter vivo trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went to the courthouse here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm looking through the file after she died to see what's there. And so she had this living trust, and it's got a lot of money, $129,957.
Who were the beneficiaries of the trust?
Well, originally 2. The one was her sister who died before her. So that only left 1, which is my ex-husband. It's a very small family. And we only had 2 children. Now, in the letter I received from her, she said that she wanted us, she wrote it before we were divorced in 79, and she said she wanted the girls to have money for their college education. So their father tells them that there's no money, and that's why I went to the courthouse, because they didn't have time. They have little babies, and and this is the only family left. So I went through all the records and took very careful notations because I don't understand what things mean.
Well, who got the $100,000?
Well, that's what I can't figure out.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Did you contact the attorney in Philadelphia?
No.
Why?
Well, because I guess I assumed, since my ex-husband's name was on this revocable trust agreement, that he was just going to inherit that. But what confused me was the letter I got saying that the girls were included.
Well, you see that people do change their minds, and some people say they're going to do things, they don't do them, and a lot of good stuff.
Oh.
But the fact is that they could have been included. The fact that she had a living trust, irrevocable or otherwise, doesn't preclude the fact that there was money in her estate that was disposed of by a will.
Okay.
Now, you went to the courthouse. You went to in Pennsylvania they call it the Widows and Orphans Court, right?
Yes.
And there was no will probated. Or was there?
There was a will.
Sandy,
a lot of these tax papers.
Sandy, was the will there? It's a public document.
Okay.
And was it filed for probate?
Probate and grant of letters and letters testamentary.
Right, so what does the will provide? What does the will provide? Hello?
I'm looking at my notes.
Well, did you read the will?
Well, yeah.
That's a yes or a no. Did you read the will?
Well, I don't think I saw the will.
You can get a copy for like $2.
Oh, okay.
And if it mentioned your daughters, it's one thing. If it didn't, that's another.
Okay.
They've got to be specifically mentioned.
Yeah, I went. What was there was all these government tax papers.
It would appear, Sandy, I don't know what's in the file, but what you ought to get is a copy of the will.
Okay.
That will tell you where her money went.
Ah, okay. Okay.
If there was any.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there were, because she was a very intelligent woman,
Well, a lot of intelligent people are broke.
I don't think she would have been. She lived very frugally, and social worker, and she did.
Well, without regard to that, you're going to have to go check and see if there was a will.
Okay, I'll have to
file
find
for
the
probate
will
and then take a look at it.
Okay.
And you can find out as to the trust. It's easy enough to find out from public records whether the trust was in fact established and whether the trust was distributed.
Okay.
That's what you got to do. Which I think what we're going for here is you're saying your former old man says, I haven't got any bread, and you're saying, hey, you got a ton from Aunt Millie.
Well, I didn't say that to him because it was 1979 when we divorced, but I said it to my children. I said, I can't believe that there was nothing because, they got nothing. And so...
How old are your children now?
One will be 30, the oldest one in August.
Well, and college is over, is history.
Well, but she wants to go for her master's.
Well,
so
it's not
it
his...
is kind of history.
Yeah, it's not his responsibility to send her for a master's degree. It really isn't.
Oh, so you're saying even if he inherited
I don't care
all
if he's
of
got $50 million. It's not his responsibility to educate a 30-year-old.
Well, I can agree with that.
Nor yours.
Not legally.
Morally.
Well, if I had
mean
inherited that much money, I would help her.
But that's your choice. You wanted to give her a gift, but there's no moral imperative here. Not from what I said. 30-year-old is an adult. It says so in all the forms for the last 12 years. She can vote and drink, and no, you only can drink for the last 9 years. Join the army, drive a car, fly an airplane, live with somebody. She can do all kinds of exciting stuff.
Well, I didn't know.
And also pay for her own college.
If the letter, because the date.
The letter has nothing. The letter means nothing.
The letter, okay, because I think there are two wills. I think that.
Well, it's too late now, I'm afraid.
Okay.
The will that was filed, if one was filed for probate, I'm sure it has been probated, and very likely the proceeds have been distributed. Although some estates last for a long time, but I don't think that would be the case here.
Okay. That's
how old is the other kid? Must be also an adult.
Yes, she's 29.
Yes, Sandy. They're adults. Grown-ups. Have you noticed lately? I mean, they appropriate hair and clothes and the rest of it.
Oh, I know.
Probably some kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they also have babies, and I thought, well, it would have been nice just to get something to put in a bank account or something.
It would have been nice, but it does not. Yeah. What is nice is not necessarily the way it's going to come down.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So.
I do wish you well, baby.
Okay, thank you.
But you do your homework, and at least you can find out what happened. That's about the most of it. All right, this is Spring Day from Springfield, Missouri, to East Springfield, Pennsylvania, to Springboro, Ohio. We're springing into action. We ought to have a night some night. Only Springs can call, only Franklins can call. It'd be kind of interesting. Yes, hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
A long-time listener. I enjoy your show immensely.
Thank you, Guy.
I got a question for you. We just moved to Ohio not long ago.
From?
Well, I was in the Air Force. We're all over the place. From Japan.
Oh, there's a fair move.
Yeah, but the question pertains to, we're going to buy a house here shortly. Signed the contract just a couple days ago. And the realtor here in Ohio tells me that it's standard practice for after you go to closing, the people who are selling the house, for them to remain in the house anywhere from 14 to 30 days after closing.
Well, it may be standard practice in Ohio. I don't think that's true. But it sure as hell wouldn't be standard practice in any deal that I was involved in.
That's what I thought. And I looked at my wife and said, you got to be kidding. I own the house. We're going to be paying insurance. It's our liability.
Well, they may say we're going to pay you rent and so forth, but there's a lot of good reasons why that's not an idea.
Right. What I'm doing is, well, actually, the realtor says that people give them free time to stay in the house after closing.
Well, you see, the real estate agent, or they may or may not be a realtor, has a fiduciary responsibility to whom?
Well, it used to be the seller, but under the new laws, they sign a paper showing us they actually are going to work for us and them.
Well, but their primary responsibility is to the seller because they're paying the freight. And if you listen to that kind of happy talk, I say, look, you want to sell this house? You're out. Or we'll put the closing off until you're ready to get out. I'm Bruce Williams for Talknet. By golly, we're going someplace. It doesn't say spring. It's Memphis, Tennessee. Hello there.
Hello, Mr. Williams.
How are you?
All right, just fine. Okay, we're in the pizza delivery business. We only deliver into one area here in Memphis.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
We're in the pizza delivery business.
Yeah.
And we deliver in just one area here in Memphis. And we're trying to figure out the best way to spend our advertising dollars. I was telling him the owner of the place that about radio advertising, but he said since we only deliver in one place, it'll be a waste of money.
Well, that is a problem. Your owner has something there's something to say about that. That if you only have one location in a big city such as you're in.
Yes, sir.
But there's something you and your boss might want to consider.
Okay.
There's got to be other guys like you in different sections of town that, like you, only have one candy store. Right?
Yes, sir.
Well, why don't you guys get together, because the big guys can advertise on radio, and radio is a very effective way to go. It's a practical matter. You can't afford to buy newspapers either with only one location for the most part.
Okay.
But if you get together, well, let's assume that you can cut the town up into 4 chunks. Do you see what I'm getting to? Or do you not? You get a guy in each. Let's assume this for argument's sake, we draw a cross right in the middle of Memphis, the whole town.
Okay.
Across the whole map of Memphis. That gives us 4 quadrants, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, if you could find somebody each one of those quadrants and say, hey, for the greatest pizza in town, if you're on the east side, you go to Jones Pizza. The west side, you go to Sam's Pizza. That sort of thing.
Oh, okay. I understand now. Okay, well, thank you.
I wish you well, kid.
Okay, thank you.
Frequently, cooperative advertising that kind works. Kansas City, Missouri. How about that?
Okay, Bruce. Bruce?
Yes?
Okay.
Of course it's me. Let's get it on, guy.
Okay. Well, I got to tell you, between you and my dad, I get the best advice that a guy could ever want. But anyway, here's my problem. I recently quit my job, and I relocated to Kansas City, and I'm having a little problem just going in and I'm finding a new job. So
well, let's start. What did you do before and where?
Okay, it was in Columbia, Missouri, and I was working for an architect. I got a double degree in architecture and civil engineering.
Okay, why did you leave?
Well, I was getting laid off at the end of the summer, and my lease was up in May, and I knew I didn't want to renew a lease, so I just said, I'm just going to take off now. So the end was coming, I just took it a little sooner.
You figured you would make it quick, huh?
Yeah. And I have some contacts here in Kansas City. Now, the advice I want to ask you is, I know that I think you mentioned at one time that it wasn't a good idea to send out unsolicited resumes.
I think it's a total waste of time, effort, and money.
Okay. I've been just sending out personal letters. I've been calling some firms, trying to find out who's the principal of these firms, and just sending them personal letters saying, I just moved to the area. I want to learn more about your firm. This is what I can offer you.
No, that's not that's a turnoff.
Uh-huh.
You better learn more about the firm before you write the letter.
Okay.
You see the difference in the approach?
Yeah.
When you write to them, you want them. There's got to be something, and I don't mean say I know a lot about you. Something in your letter has to show that you know a lot about them.
Okay.
That means homework on your part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's. I have been able to find out some information on some firms, but it's kind of difficult.
Well, sure, it's difficult. It's a good thing it's difficult.
Yeah.
If it was easy, there'd be no job for you.
Yeah. Now, what would you think about, instead of mailing these letters, just actually going to these firms and dropping them off?
Never get an argument from me.
Yeah?
I have no problem with that. You try anything that seems to work is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Try different approaches. Drop off 50 and see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Mail 50. But, the content is what is important here.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in there to persuade the potential employer that you're worth talking to.
Okay.
Whatever that is. You got to catch their attention.
Okay. Well, that sounds fair.
You have very little time to do that, by the way. First paragraph or two has got to capture their attention.
Yeah, that's and lengthwise, I got some books from the library, and they haven't been too helpful. Just like the ideal cover letter and all that. And
well, there's no substitute for brevity.
Yeah.
You read the newspaper?
Of course, yeah, every day.
I say, of course. A lot of people don't. A lot of people wouldn't know which way to find the newspaper. Did you ever read the letters to the editors?
Uh-huh.
Which ones do you read?
Well, usually the short ones.
Thank you. You answered the question. I wish you well, guy.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in. This is Talknet. All righty, let's go to Clarion, Iowa. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce, first-time caller.
Well, I'm very happy you're here, my dear.
Well, I'm glad I could get some information. I have a chance to sell my farm, 117 acres, to a guy that has rented my farm for the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what he wants to do is pay off my debts, buy me a home.
Well, slow down now.
Okay.
When you say your debts, is there a mortgage on the farm?
No. This is just personal debts that I have run up.
Mm-hmm. Well, how does he know about your debts?
Well, we've discussed it. We've discussed it.
Okay. How much are your debts?
$24,000.
All right.
And buy me. Go ahead.
He'll pay the 20. This sounds a little paternalistic. This deal. He'll pay 20. He'll pay you. He's going to give you $24,000. You're going to write your own checks, right?
No, he's going to pay me with his checks.
Why would he do that? Why would you do it that way?
Well, this is what I'm.
Go ahead. He's going to buy you a house for how much?
The house I've looked at is $39,000.
All right.
And go get me we looked at a car. The car is $5,000.
Yeah.
And then he wants to give me $10,000 cash.
All right.
And I said,
That's it?
That's it.
How much is your farm worth right now?
Right now it goes for $1,100 an acre.
$1,100 an acre, and you got 115 acres, right?
Yeah.
Well, 115,000. If it was $1,000 an acre, it'd be 115,000. And we got another 11,500. That's 126.5, according to my real quick mental. Let's call $125,000.
Right.
And he wants to give you 78,000.
78,000.
What in the world would you go for a deal like that for?
Because I don't want to have to pay income tax on the cash.
You're going to pay income tax anyway.
Not if I take a loss.
Yeah. You gotta be kidding.
No, this is what I said. I just called for information and just.
Well, what are you talking about? What loss?
Well, if I sell it for under.
How much did you pay for the farm?
It was inherited.
How much is the base?
Oh, gosh. I don't know right off the top of my head. I don't have the papers with me right now.
Well, what makes you think that this deal he's offering you is worthwhile?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Honey, if he gives you $78,000 in cash, or does what he's described, it doesn't change your tax obligations in the slightest.
But if I take a loss, I don't pay taxes. I'll get...
Get what?
Get money back.
Well, from what?
From the IRS.
You think if you have a loss, they give you money back?
Oh, yes.
Where'd you get that idea?
I checked into it and called around and talked.
I don't know who you've checked into it, but you're smoking lefty luckies. You don't get anything back. Only time you get some of it back is if you have profits from some other place to deduct the loss from. You don't think for a moment that if you have a losing deal, the government says, "Oh my golly, you poor child, have some money."
Oh, but
where in heaven's name did you get that idea?
Well, I'm a certified public accountant.
No, you misunderstood him, sweetheart. Now, if you have losses from some other source, that's a different matter. Have you?
No.
Well, I don't think the certified public accountant told you any such thing.
Well, he's a certified public accountant here in town.
And what did he tell you exactly?
He told me that if the deal goes, that if I accept a deal, that I could take, that it would take a loss in the farm because when my husband died back in '86, that the land sold for under $1,100 then.
So what? What has that got to do with anything?
Well, I don't know. And he said I could possibly get a refund back for 3 years. See, this is what I'm saying.
You're talking about on taxes you have previously paid.
Yes.
How much of a refund? I'm not sure he's right, but go ahead. How much of a refund?
Well, he said about $2,300.
But you're willing to sell it.
See, this is what I'm saying.
Wait a minute. No, you're willing to sell it for something like $45,000 less than the market price.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, they ought to have a keeper for you if you do that.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
It didn't. It didn't.
Anybody who takes a tax loss deliberately, unless you get a 4 or 5 for 1 leverage, which you used to be able to get, is crazy. That's like saying to a businessman, "Don't worry, it's deductible."
Okay.
That's a stupid comment that people say. Oh, you can give this as deductible. From what? Deductible from my money. That's what it's deductible from.
Okay. Well, see, this is what I'm saying. He come to me and, was talking about.
He must think you're very naive.
Well, I hope not. I mean,
honey, look. What's your first name?
Karen.
If you had a diamond ring, Karen, and its real fair market value was $1,000, would you sell it to me for $600?
If I needed the money, probably.
No, you can sell it for $1,000. That's the market value. Why would you come to me, give it to me for $600?
Well, that's what I said.
No, you're not getting it, Karen. Do you have anybody that's close to you that can help you?
Well, I had a son-in-law that was a power of attorney, but he was taking money out of the...
Well, I'm not talking about anybody who has power, but anybody you trust.
No.
Nobody.
My husband, who
Yeah,
died.
but he's no longer with you. How old are you, Karen?
I'm 42.
Karen, they're taking you to the cleaners.
Well, this is what I said, and I have, nobody.
How about a banker in town?
Well,
How about a good lawyer?
I don't know of any good lawyers. I know lawyers.
Well, Karen, if you're telling me that what is true, that the property is worth $1,100 an acre, 115 acres, to give it to somebody for $78,000 is criminal. This guy is fleecing you.
Okay, well, this is what I wanted to call and find out.
Put the farm up for sale. You want to, if 1,100 is your number, ask $1,100 an acre. Pay the taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Because you have to, all of the stuff that you're talking about over here, I don't know where your CPA got an idea that maybe he knows. Does he the guy that files your taxes?
Yes.
Well, he may know that you got some losses, carry forward losses. That's a different story. But he had never told you to take 78 instead of 125, did he?
Well, no.
Okay, because that would be dumb. He wouldn't tell you that. Take as much as you can grab, honey.
All right.
Never, ever, well, enough of that. And I think, Karen, you need somebody to advise you that you can trust. Otherwise, you're going to be heavily duty taken care of. Taken advantage of, excuse me. St. Cloud, hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello there.
I listen to your show quite a bit. I have another used car problem. Bought a used car 3 days ago. Had nothing but trouble for the last 3 days. Can I get my money back? $2,600.
Where did you buy it from a dealer? Or
A reputable dealer, yes.
They're always reputable.
Well, they are. Yeah, they are. I mean, it's not a fly-by-night three cars a lot.
Have you gone down and talked to the dealer?
No, but they've fixed the things that have gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the car for my son. It's up to him to go and take care of it. However, I want to have some little punch when we do go.
You don't have any punch. I know of. If they're willing to fix it, that's what they're saying.
That's it. Okay. Well, my son's not so crazy about the car anymore.
Well, that's tough. How old is your son?
He's 21.
Well, what are you doing buying a 21-year-old a car?
Yeah, well, he's a student, and if he's a student.
What does that have to do with anything?
Job. Well, wait a minute. He needs a job, and if he can't get to a job without a car, and he needs a car because he doesn't have any money to pay for one himself, so we bought it.
Did you loan him the money, or did you
yeah, I loaned him. Oh, yes, I loaned him the money.
Mm-hmm. Was it necessary to spend $2,600?
I'm not a car person. I don't know anything about cars. I know that they go when I turn.
Yeah, I like their style. You turn the key and go, wrong.
It goes. Mine does.
But let me ask this of you. Who bought the car with your son? Just your son?
Well, my husband, but he's in the other room. And I said, Gene, didn't you check this? He said, hey. No, he looks the other way. He walked out and said, let him be a man. Let him figure it out himself.
With your money, let him be a man. That's
it's our money.
That's not let him be a man.
Oh, no, he's paying it back. Oh, no, my husband, yeah, let him do this. And,
no, I don't mean that. I mean the kid. The kid's not being a man. Not when he's coming to mom. I don't say there's anything wrong necessarily coming to mom and daddy.
Helping him out.
But I don't. But what I'm trying to get to, first of all, he didn't have to be helped out for $2,600. He could have got a car for $1,000 with no trouble.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. We got him.
Really?
No, it might
Tell
not.
Me where?
You got to be kidding me. Would you like? How much money do you want to wager? I'll come to your town over the weekend, and I will buy a very good car for $1,000.
Oh, you will not. Well, now I know better than that. I don't care if you came to my town. You could not get a good car in my town for $1,000 that would run 3 days. That's what we thought we got.
How much money are you willing to wager? Because you're going to lose.
Oh.
You're going to lose.
What do you call a good car?
A car that will get the kid to school and back and to work and back.
For how long?
Certainly for a year.
$1,000.
Now, what kind of car do you buy? What kind of car do you buy?
A Toyota.
2-door, 4-door?
2-door.
Sports car?
Sports Celica.
He doesn't need that.
No, I know that.
You could have bought him a 4-door, say, Oldsmobile sedan that's stodgy and doesn't have any class look to it. Is 10 years old, 12 years old, but it got him to work very nicely. That wouldn't have cost $2,600, sweetheart.
No, I know. Well, thanks for the sweetheart. I needed that. My husband saw a pickup for $1,500, take it off the lot, and the brat turned his nose up at it.
Well, in that case, I'd say, hey, boy, get a bicycle.
He does have a bicycle.
Well, ride it.
My question
very quickly.
Is there any way we can get our money back?
Not that I know of, unless you can show the guy committed fraud. He had an odometer that was spun or something of that nature. Otherwise, as long as he's making the repairs, he's okay.
Back with it. And I think the damn thing will run very well tomorrow.
Well, I hope so. But please don't tell me you can't buy a car for $1,000 for transportation, because there's hundreds of thousands of adults in this country doing exactly that. And I think the characterization of the brat might fit. I do wish you well. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Golly, if I'd realized how close that lady's home was to where I am, I'd even lowered the amount of the wager that I'd come over there and buy her a car. You can buy a respectable piece of transportation in this country for $1,000. No. Class, no. One that'll get the ladies' attention if you're 19 or 20, no. Maybe. But it'll get you where you're going. New Orleans, what's on your mind?
Good evening, Bruce.
Hi.
I don't have a real problem. I just have a question that's been bugging me for some time. I've listened to you for a long time, and I would say 2 or 3 or more times a month people will call and complain where they had a contractor build something who didn't pay for the material, so the material supplier goes after the homeowner.
Yes, sir.
And it's apparently that way all over the country, and I have never gotten hurt that way. But it's just, there's something wrong with that system, and I just thought you might be able to explain to me why it's so.
The reason it's so is because the supplier sends material to a given address, 123 Oak Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that material goes into the building itself. It cannot be repossessed. It can't be taken back and sold again. And so the law says he's entitled. Now, what your position is, well, he's the guy who gave the credit to the builder. You got to be careful who he gives credit to.
That's exactly my point. If I sold a refrigerator or a set of furniture to somebody who lost his job, had a fire and couldn't pay, I have nowhere to go.
Yes, you do. You can repossess it.
Not if he has a fire or leaves town with it.
Well, if he has a fire, no. If he leaves town, he stole it.
And if I make a business decision to check somebody's paying habits and credit and decide to let them have credit and then they don't come through, I'm hung. But I think this is a method for building material people to sell anything to anybody because they know they can always go to the homeowner and put a lien on the property, and that's wrong.
But the lien necessarily isn't collectible either. And furthermore, it goes beyond just building material. It can be a job that you did, too. For example, if you put a pool in the ground, a significant portion of the expense is going to be labor.
Yes.
You can file a mechanics lien against the owner of the property for the entire cost of the pool, labor included. I agree that there's a little more protection there than there's for the average person who grants credit. I think we can certainly agree on that one. But I don't necessarily disagree with the theory. And there are ways to protect yourself. That's the bottom line. Thanks very, very much for calling, Guy. Mr. Dallas Riggins, spinning the dials up there, doing a great job. Walter Hassett in Master Control. Don Mansfield working hard tonight as our operations manager. And, of course, the redoubtable Dan Rudd. Papa Dan, our producer. I'm Bruce.
I received an offer in the mail today about a timeshare.
You did.
And I know your feelings on timeshares, and this was to,
what are my feelings on timeshare?
Well, I know you're opposed to them.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed to them. I mean, if somebody wanted to sell me stock in one of these things, I might be tempted to buy.
But this is one of those things where you go for a 90-minute presentation and get a prize.
Well, of course.
And the thing that I'm calling about is, this is a new wrinkle I haven't seen before on the prizes, and wondered if you had heard of this one before.
Tell me.
Yeah, the letter starts off, our offices have just been informed that our mail program must issue the actual winning number for all major awards. At least one of the following 2 people will win, and then they list the 3 awards. And of course, my name's in all 3 of those.
At least one.
At least one of 2.
Yes, but the other guy, he's the one that wins, isn't he?
Well, that's what I figured.
And we don't have to mail one. We don't mail one to him, do we?
Well, that's what I was curious about, whether if I should track down these people and see.
How are you going to track them down? It doesn't give their addresses, does it?
No, it
just gives a name, John Smith. Well, you can find 2,375 John Smiths, and guess what? They'd be the 2,376th is the John Smith we're really looking for.
Right. No, I really didn't expect to win.
That's been around for.
I didn't really expect to receive anything, but
that's been around for a long time.
Seen this particular ring.
Oh yeah,
before.
It's been around. It usually is 3 names, not 2.
Oh,
and it says one of the 3 people has won our grand prize or is eligible for the big one, and the other 2 maybe so, and you always seem to want those other 2 someplace in that letter, somewhere in there. I think you'll find, and obviously there's.
Well, I've been looking.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Not at all. When you were looking through this thing, right? What's your first name?
Tom.
Tom, when you're looking at this, did you read it very carefully?
Yes.
Did you flip it over?
Yeah.
Are the odds on the back?
Right. The odds are. Yeah, I mean, I know the odds are always 1 for the big one.
That's right.
9 million for the.
Exactly. So that's the answer.
And that's true here too. I just wondered on this particular one where they have at least 1 of 2, and then.
Well, sure. I mean that the other guy just happens to be in a Siberian labor camp.
Okay.
And it's very unlikely he's going to get a mailing. But you never can tell. He may.
So that's actually legal, though, to send those out where they have 1 of 2 can win?
Well, is there anything untruthful about that?
No, I guess not.
I mean, if you had one name, let's say it's Tom Jones, your last name would make up Jones, okay? If they put Tom Jones on 10 million mailings and Michael Thompson, Sheila Jaskett, et cetera, that's Tom Jones is the big winner, isn't he?
True enough.
Now, you see, the what it appears to be is your odds then are 1 and 2. But obviously, that what appears to be is not the case.
No, I realize.
No, but I'm saying is though the casual guy is going to look at it, right? He's going to say, "Oh boy, it's 1 and 2. It's either Tommy or John." Well, it's not the case, and it's no big deal. These guys are constantly thinking up new permutations. The one that I got one the other day. And I got it personally, and some of my listeners were kind enough to send it to me. We have boxes of this stuff, and I suppose some of it has whiskers on it, but still it's going to find its way to book form if I can ever find a time. The way it worked was, let me think on this now. It said the same caper, one of the 3 people have won $5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but also they go on to say everybody else is in the second or whatever category, right?
Right.
But now you go on the flip side. Yeah, there's the $5,000 is the entire prize pool. And now the second category, it gets you can be a guaranteed cash winner paid by check, but the second prize pool, which is about $2,000, is whacked up. I don't know how, but you get at least 10 cents. Your check will be no less than 10 cents, and it was all there. But I'll tell you, it took a very careful reading to figure it out. I don't mean you had to be very smart to figure it out, because then I wouldn't have been able to. But you had to read it carefully. And that's most of these things, if you read them carefully, you read into it, and you and me together, I'm not picking on you, we read into it what we'd like to have it say, and that's what these guys are masters at.
Oh, I know. No, I was obviously looking for the catch, but I mean, aside from not, well, I guess you're right. The obvious one is not sending it to the other person.
Yeah, it's right up on. Well, I'm not going to tell you they don't send it to him. Let's assume they do. It doesn't matter. They can send it to him, the one guy, one name. Their exposure is only for whatever the grand prize is. They can send out 10 million with his name and one other name. Now, they've still given the inference that the odds are 1 and 2 to the 10 million people, and they give the guy, if he responds, his prize. What's the big deal? It's his brother-in-law or whatever,
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I've given the same name a lot of times. Yeah.
Hey, it's a lot.
That makes sense.
These fellas are bright. Yeah. Can you imagine if they were straight? You wouldn't have Dukakis and Bush running. Those guys would be running because they'd have manipulated the convention and they'd be there, you know? Good luck, my friend.
Well, thanks a lot for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening. Let's go to Charleston, South Carolina. Hello there.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing? I want to run a little situation by you that I've run into.
Uh-huh.
Had my house on the market for about 6 weeks. Got a contract. People coming in from out of town wanted possession within a week. So I packed up.
Within a week?
Within a week after they signed the contract. She started a job, had to have a place to stay.
And this was before closing?
Before closing.
Boy, I wouldn't let them in.
Well, I already did, so. Anyway.
Go ahead.
So this is what happened. They moved in. I moved into a rental house. Everything went along fine. Loans went through. Everything was approved.
Mm-hmm.
After about 6 weeks period.
Mm-hmm.
3 hours before closing, they called up the realtor and said they'd changed their mind. They wouldn't go buy the house.
They changed their mind. Did they put any earnest money up?
$835.
On how much of a deal?
On a $45,000 house.
And you let them get by with $800?
Well, this was the realtor, my realtor.
Should have been $4,500.
Yeah, I agree.
10%.
So, anyway, I spoke to a lawyer, and he said, well, we can force them into it. He said, but the situation was that they were assuming my loan taken out a second.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if they decided to, just pack up and move again, that you could be held responsible for the first mortgage.
That's true.
So, the lawyer said, well, you can sue them to gain damages.
How about the rent?
Well, they paid rent, $450 a month, and I got that.
Why'd they walk away?
I couldn't get a good answer out of them until today when I got a letter in the mail from another mortgage company.
And what was that?
Saying that they had applied for a mortgage for a home, and it was dated before the time of our closing.
Oh, lovely. They were going 2 ways, huh?
Yeah, they were going 2 ways.
Here's the problem. Look, your lawyer gave you good advice, from what you've told me. You can go after him for damages. You can certainly go after him for the very minimum of that deposit. And you have an obligation to try to mitigate your damages by trying to sell the house to somebody else.
Right.
And you should be able to nail them at the very least for the deposit for defaulting. But there's a couple of lessons there. The first is you really got to protect yourself and get a decent down payment.
Right.
Earnest money, which 10% is about customary, unless it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
Now, it can be in the form of a negotiable instrument, so they get the interest. I have no quarrel with that. Second thing is, unless you are a real crapshooter, you never let your buyer into the house until the day they close.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Sympathize. Tell them they can rent a trailer and park in the driveway. They can shower in your bathroom if necessary, but they don't move in until they close. Why? Because they find all the warts, the little things that are wrong, and the sump pump makes a squealing noise, and they want you to take care of all that stuff.
Right.
Never let them do it. I wish you well, kid.
Thank you.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. This is Talknet. We go to Utica, New York. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. A few weeks ago, my mother-in-law died. We found a whole bunch of bills. She left nothing. Who's responsible to pay the bills?
Well, no, let's go back a little bit. You said, did your mother leave a will?
Yes.
She did. Who is the executor of that will?
Her son.
All right, her son is responsible for liquidating her assets and paying off any bills he is able to pay.
Even if she didn't leave a house and...
Well, wait a minute. Did she leave anything?
No.
Nothing at all?
Oh, well, furniture, a bed, but...
Just a bed, that's it?
Well, and clothes, but really...
Anything of any value?
Nothing, really.
Well, in that case, he has to notify the creditors that there is... when you say nothing now, you get careful now. Does she have any... Were there any rings? Any jewelry? Anything?
She gave it all away.
Before she died?
Before she died.
How much before she died?
A few months.
Well, you see, that's anticipation of death, right? She knew she was going to die.
Well, I think it was a shock to her, but no, maybe.
Well, I'm getting... How much did she leave in the way of debts?
Probably about $1,500.
Well, nobody's going to shoot her for that. Well, you see, technically, you're not allowed to impoverish yourself in anticipation of death to screw the creditors.
Okay, so he may have to.
Well, but for that kind of money, for a total of $1,500, they're not going to bother very much. What he should do as executor of the estate, saying I'm the executor of my mother, by the late Mrs. So-and-so. Unfortunately, she died without leaving no assets behind. If that's the case.
Okay.
But if did she leave any? Well, if the insurance was payable to her, it'd be a different matter. It would payable to some other beneficiary. That would not be that's not part of her estate then. But I mean, if she left anything and he took it, or if he paid some bills selectively, that could be a problem. Who paid for the funeral?
He did.
Out of his own funds.
Yeah.
Well, you hesitated.
Well, the insurance policy.
Well, that's his funds.
Right.
He didn't pay for it out of her checking account.
No.
You sure?
No. There was probably $1,500 in the checking account.
Well, what did he do with that?
Probably paid for the funeral.
Well, you see, that wasn't the proper thing to do.
No.
No.
What should you do?
Well, you have to prorate the money, or go to the probate court and ask him how to handle this. You just can't decide indiscriminately, I'll give it all to one guy and nothing to the other guy.
So he may end up paying the...
Well, I don't think so. I think what he ought to do is contact the creditors that he didn't pay and just say that she died with no assets. And see what their response is. But you see, there was some money then. You see, kind of skinning around that a little bit on me.
Well,
some.
Yeah.
And you just can't go out and arbitrarily say I'll pay one person and not pay the other. He may have put himself in some jeopardy. With the amount of money involved, I wouldn't worry about too much.
Okay.
Take good care.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Eugene, Oregon, your turn.
Bruce, I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Let me interrupt just for a moment, may I?
Okay.
In the event that there's an attorney out there that would want to either expand on what I had to say, or worse yet, or better yet, whichever way, if you feel I've erred in some way on what I said to this lady a moment ago, please give me a call at 212-245-6040. 212-245-6040. Go ahead, Eugene.
About a year ago, our son-in-law and daughter had an opportunity to move to another city for my son-in-law to get a better job. Our son-in-law come to us and ask us to borrow $1,200 for the move.
How old are these guys?
My son-in-law was 28 at the time, and my daughter is 22.
Okay, young people.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we were happy to do so. Mm-hmm. We verbally agreed between us that the loan would be paid back in 4 months. Well,
where did you think they were going to get this money in 4 months?
Well, that's what they come up with, at 4 months,
well,
and we question them on that.
Exactly, because most people want to borrow money are very optimistic in their ability to repay.
Right. So anyway, he made the move. After 2 months on the new job, he got fired.
Yep.
At this point, they started paying us back like $20 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it was paid. Okay.
At least they made an effort.
Yes, they did. Okay. Now they're separated. A divorce is pending.
Mm-hmm.
Now, under emotional duress, we told our daughter, because our daughter told us first, she says, I'm really worried about the money we owe you.
Mm-hmm.
So we were feeling very sad for her, and we said, we don't think you are responsible to pay it back, so don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if we did the right thing. Who should we look for under this circumstance to pay that money back? We haven't received anything since they've been separated.
I'd forget it if I were you.
I think that's the bottom line.
That's what it comes down to.
But who is responsible? Both?
Who borrowed the money?
The son-in-law asked us for the loan.
Who borrowed the money?
The son-in-law.
Period?
Yes, but it was, of course, for both of them.
Exactly so. It's
right.
Joint debt. But realistically,
right,
you just donated $1,200.
I'm afraid so. Okay.
I'm not going to tell you that there aren't some ways that a debt of that kind can be collected, because that wouldn't be true.
Okay.
But realistically, for the kind of money we're talking about, so long as we had.
Yeah. Should we just...
I'd forget it.
Just forget it.
Forget it. Your daughter's going to not go through the easiest time in her life. Are there children involved?
Yes, one.
I think that your daughter has, and your son-in-law too, for that matter, they both have enough problems right now. And I don't think there's anything to be gained by adding to those problems, do you?
Okay.
Do you think there's anything to be gained by that?
No, I guess not. It's so he has a history of borrowing money and not paying it back, which we didn't know at the time. We've learned all this since.
I say you live and you learn, huh,
Yeah,
baby?
you sure do.
Now,
Okay.
now you have your daughter moving back with the kids, too.
Pardon me?
Now you'll have your daughter moving back in with the kids.
No.
Okay. No.
No.
I wish you well, dear. I'm Bruce Williams. Yeah. This is Talknet. We have an attorney from Flint, Michigan. I assume you're going to comment on the lady with the mother who passed away with not enough money to pay the bills.
That's right, Bruce. How you doing?
I am doing very well, thank you, and I appreciate you calling.
I think that the situation that she had there is a very common situation, and I think that what the people did, what the family did after the death was really not the end of the world, and I think that the law would find that what they did was fairly proper.
Is that right? Pay for the funeral?
Right. In fact, the law has set up in most state statutes, certainly in Michigan's, a regular series of priorities for where the money goes first when there's not enough money to go around.
Is that so?
And there's never enough money to go around.
Is that true? Is there any obligation upon the executor to go down this priority list?
What he should do in order would be, number one, the expenses of the last illness. I guess on the theory that the doctor that's trying to, save her life ought to get paid. After the expenses of last illness, the cost of the funeral ought to be paid.
The funeral comes second, huh?
That's correct.
Okay.
And number three would be the creditors, if you're able to pay them. And everyone recognizes that sometimes that's just not the case.
What do you do, seriously, with the corpus delicti if you have no money to have them buried, but you have money and you got to pay the physicians, hospitals, and whatever first?
Well, I just don't know. I think in actual practice, the hospitals and the doctors tend to waive the fees, and the people do tend to get buried. Everybody gets fairly reasonable in a situation like that.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, but let's face it, though, they got to get paid, they got to feed their kids, and they got to pay their light bills too.
Sure, but nobody's interested in the lady's rings that she got, from her husband that many years ago, and whatever sticks of furniture she might have sitting around. Those things are better passed to relatives as heirlooms. But as you pointed out, if there's a $15,000 ring in there somewhere, then you've got to make an accounting. But if you're talking about, the gold ring that the husband brought back from the war 40 years ago, nobody wants it.
Well, it's just a matter of magnitude, then.
That's correct.
Very well. Hey, Counselor, thank you so very much. That's
Have a good evening.
I shall indeed. We'll do it again, huh?
Right.
I really appreciate the experts around the country jumping in there, because that's what this whole thing is about. We go now to Portland, Maine. Hello. How are things down east?
They're doing all right. The weather's pretty good. How you doing, Bruce?
I am well, thank you.
That's good. I'm 19 years old, and the reason I'm calling is a year ago, I was working as a manager in a store, and I was making very good money. I went out and I bought a brand new car.
At 18?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying now. And I went out and got a Visa card through our credit union. And I was working two jobs, actually. But now I found myself where I can't pay for what I have.
You went to the dance, and now you can't pay for the orchestra.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Let's break it into segments, not necessarily bite size. But how much do you owe on the car?
I owe about $8,000 on a car.
If you sold the car today, what's it worth?
Well, that's what I owe after the car has been sold. See, it was repossessed on me too. Well, I turned it in because I could not afford the car.
And you have a deficiency of $8,000.
$8,000.
It was a real upside down deal.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. What else?
And then I owe about $1,500 on a Visa card.
$9,500. What else?
And then after that, I went in and I got even deeper, and I went out and bought another $3,000 car, and I ended up couldn't afford to pay for that.
What happened to that?
The car was itself, I was sold a lemon, is pretty much what it was. And so it became undrivable, so I returned it, and they still said it was financed through the dealership where I bought it at. It was one of those deals where no credit needed, and,
Sure.
One of those where, they put they buy the car for $500,
Well, whatever. So how much do you owe on that little transaction?
Yeah, I owe about $3,000 left on that.
Boy, you're 19. You're doing real well. It's 12.5. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much what I owe.
What are you doing for a living now?
Well, I'm going to school.
You're going to school?
Yeah, I'm going to a university to get a degree in radiology. But I'm also working part-time, though, at a convenience store.
Making $3 or $4 an hour.
Yeah.
How much were you making before?
I was bringing home pretty close to $450 a week between the two jobs.
Okay, so what's your question?
All right, my question is people in my family has said that I should file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, you probably should. But you realize how screwed up your life is going to be?
Yeah, I hear that it affects you for 7 years.
It affects you for the rest of your life.
The rest of your life?
It's on your record.
Yeah.
For a prescribed number of years, but the question is, have you ever had a bankruptcy? It's certainly going to be with you for a lot longer than 7 years.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, unless you quit school, and I would be reluctant to tell you to do that, there's no way you're going to dig yourself out of this mess. Just the meter is probably going, and the interest and so on and so forth is getting worse.
Yeah. But if I do go to file bankruptcy, I mean, what does that entail, and how you're going to doing it?
Well, it's going to cost you about $300.
$300.
And you use an attorney.
Yeah.
And you make certain that you list all of the debts that you described to me, because if you missed one, you still owe it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Okay, so I first go get myself an attorney, and then they'll take it.
They'll take it from there. And it's that if you listen to me regularly, you know I don't do that very often.
Yeah.
But I just think, man, I'm almost inclined in some ways to blame the system.
Yeah.
But, you did a lot of stupid things.
Yeah, I know really? I did it, but now, I've grown up, within the past year, believe it or not.
I'm sure you have.
And, face reality here that, what I did was, really premature.
Well, as I say, I do blame the system to some extent that allows an 18-year-old kid to get that far in hock. How much was the car? How much, when you bought the car, how much was it?
It was about $12,000.
And you lost 8?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well, it's really a long story. I got into an accident with it once. They fixed it, but they didn't fix it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the insurance wouldn't fix had a cracked frame. Insurance wouldn't fix that.
Why?
I don't know, because they said they paid for it once at the dealership, and then the dealership said, no, that's from another accident.
Did you have 2 accidents?
No, I only had that one accident, and they said that I had 2, but what it was is they probably didn't fix the frame right, but I never took it from there.
Well, I'm just kind of curious how you got into $8,000 hock. The car was sold for about $4,000?
Yeah.
Well, son, what I tell you, they say go forward and sin no more. I wish you well, kid.
All right, thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, in a situation like that, I don't see any alternative to bankruptcy. That sticks in my throat. Yeah, this is Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. This is Talknet. Yesterday, I had to make a real quick trip from the Big Apple down to Florida. Second trip in 3 days. I'm becoming a commuter to Florida. I was going to the Tampa Bay area. My mother, who is along in years, as some of you know, is moving to Florida for a time, and I was taking her down. So my number 2 son, Mark, who is the physical therapist in the family, and my mother's, has a little problem. She broke her hip for a second time. Mark went to the airport with me and helped me get her on a plane. Happily, for whatever reason, they had taken a closet out of the front of the airplane in it's first class section. Okay, so there was like a dance floor in front of the seats. Boy, there's all kinds of room. You could set up a bridge table, right? And my mom weighs all of 90 pounds, so I'm about the same weight, I think. So well, that's my right leg. But in any event, we get there, and I sit her down, and she gets in the seat, and Mark kind of brings her in, because she's walking is a little bit difficult for her. And now we get airborne, and it's about 10:30 in the morning. I'm starting to throw down a couple of shooters. That's how kind of a day I had yesterday. I never drink at that. But anyway, they asked her if she'd like something to eat. Oh, yeah, so they come out. And I guess, let's face it, it's been a while since my mom has flown. So I think she's getting the impression everybody flies this way. It was a little different than I took her to the club at the airport, and there's a private club and so on. And she thought this was pretty nice, too, So the other where we're going to, would you like some she had a salad and a roll, there's a linen napkin, everything's served very nicely. That was fine. Boy, she put that, for 90 pounds, boy, 45 pounds of greenery just disappeared in a hurry, right? Now it's time for the main course. I shrimp and all routine, right? That disappeared as well. I'm just sitting there, my lunch is in liquid form at this point. It was a long day, kids. Now the very, very pleasant young lady, name is Vicky from Continental Airlines. Vicky is she put blankets under her feet because her feet are dangling off the edge. She doesn't reach the floor, right? Put some blankets under her feet. Been very accommodating. So Vicky comes over and says, would you like some dessert? Would you like to wait? Well, I'll wait and then have coffee and so forth. Okay. Then would you like your dessert now? Yes. Well, I'll have my coffee with cream. And what flavor's ice cream do you have? I couldn't believe it. Vicky now, her eyes open up like Betty Boop. She said, we have, I'll have that, the cake, right? But, I think she thought she's some kind of a flying restaurant here. She decided, maybe I'll have a little coffee with chocolate syrup or something. Vicky handled it very well. I'm sitting there, and two more. That's exactly. Michael says, "Where was the cigarette girl?" She already have a cigarette in the whole thing. Oh, what flavor's ice cream will you have? Well, maybe. Listen, if you came out with 2 or 3 flavors, then I'd have really been impressed. Good. Matter of fact, there is one airline that on one particular run is Dallas, New York, or Dallas, Newark. They I haven't flown with them for some time on that particular trip, but they did serve. It was a first-class lunch. They give you a shrimp cocktail and a steak and so forth, and then they let you build a sundae. Oh yeah, they have 2 or 3 flavors of ice cream in a cart, and they have hot fudge and butterscotch and whipped cream. See, and I used to make that trip pretty regularly. So what I'd do, I'd have my lunch. And then when the cart came in, there I was, boy, back to my soda jerk days, right? I would get out the ice cream and scoop out a couple of things. I'll do this myself, honey. That's okay. And then they'd look at you, okay, 2 big blobs of ice cream. Now I get the hot fudge and the butterscotch. Never mind just one of the 2. I put them both on, right? Then I get the whipped cream. Now I got this monster thing. Now I got, usually by this time, the stewardess is sitting there, the flight attendant, pardon me, and her assistant, and they're looking at like, what's this pig doing, right? I get all done, I build this creation. I said, now, do me a favor, find some kid in the back of the plane and give it to him. Now we get all the smiles, because I can't afford to eat that kind of stuff, but at least I can live vicariously. I'm not going to let the airline put it away for the next pay. Hell with that. I'm paying for this routine. So usually when there's any kind of a decent dessert, which I'm trying not to eat, I try to send it back for some kid. That's kind of fun doing it that way. At least you live, you can enjoy the stuff vicariously. Oceanside, California. What's on your mind?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. I've got a question for you this evening. My wife and I are going to be traveling overseas on our own boat.
On your own boat?
Yes.
Why, I'm talking to one of the world's wealthier people here, huh?
Nah, it doesn't take any money.
Nah, I mean, the QE2 is for hire anytime, right? What kind of boat?
Just a little boat.
Well, how are you going to go overseas on a little boat? Tell me. You're in California. You're going to go down through Mexico. I can see down to Baja, maybe. You're up to Canada.
Well, you just take off from Baja and go across to down through Tahiti and.
Wait a minute. From Baja to Tahiti is a big jump.
Oh, about 3,000 miles thereabouts.
And you're going to do this over open ocean?
Yes.
God bless. How big a boat?
45 feet.
Okay, Captain.
Well, there's thousands of people out there. You'd find it interesting how many there are.
Well, I got to tell you something. The only way I will find it interesting is reading about it, or looking down from that wide body. Okay, so you're going to take this trip, and I assume that you have all the expertise of driving this craft and the navigational ability and so forth.
Oh yes, we're all equipped with electronic navigation and such. But
well, it sounds like fun.
Anyway, an instance came up the other day when we carry a credit card, and it's got almost a $10,000 limit.
Yeah, it was a bank card.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to us that we're going to be out of touch for some time, sometimes a couple months at a time.
Yeah.
And on occasion, we do get billings in error on this, for which the bank tells us we have 60 days to notify them in writing and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being that we're going to be overseas, we don't know exactly how we're going to do this, because many times mail is going to be 2 months in reaching us, and maybe sometimes 2 or 3 weeks getting back.
Well, why use the mail?
I don't know. They want it in writing. Well, first of all...
who's going to pay your bills back here?
As far as I know, I'm still stuck with it. I have to pay them.
Well, you haven't got somebody who can handle it for you?
No, not actually paying it because.
Why not? I mean, do you have any children?
No.
Do you have an office?
No.
What are you gonna hide? Do you have an attorney?
No.
How did a guy get a 45-foot boat and smart enough to drive it without any of these things?
Well, you see, I had all those things, and then I've gotten smart enough to get rid of all those things.
Well, maybe that wasn't so smart.
Oh, perhaps.
You see what I was getting at? Look, if you're worried about what you've described, right?
Yeah.
It would seem to me the easiest thing to do would be to have, and I think you ought to do this anyway. You ought to designate somebody to be your agent in the United States. And
okay.
The easiest thing to do on that would be you could have a teleconference on a telephone once a month. I'm sure you can get to a telephone, or you have a ship to shore on this thing, up the satellite.
Yes, we do.
Well, once a month you call this attorney or whoever you choose, and he goes over to, he has all the bills sitting there in a file, and here we go. Here's the Visa bill. Where there, we need some gas in Bloody Marys in Tahiti. 2,000 gallons of gas, whatever the number is. Okay, that's a good one. Yep, you can pay that one, Henry. And here's one for 75 Mai Tais for the big party I had at. Hey, wait a minute, it was only 30 Mai Tais. Hold that one, Henry. Take you once a month.
Can he be empowered to actually write these and object or put it in contest?
Well, of course he can. First of all, is anybody at Visa going to know that you didn't write the letter? Did anybody ever ask you to give a blood type when you wrote a letter to put something in contest?
No, I suppose not.
Who's going to know?
I don't know. I've never really faced this before.
Nobody's going to know. But, I mean, you ought to have somebody anyway that could execute things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could give a limited power of attorney, put some funds at their disposal. And if you don't trust them, you get them bonded. But I really think you could find someone that could handle this.
Is there much in the way of, let's say criminal sort of activity of putting things on charge cards?
Oh, sure.
But where does most of that come from?
What do you mean?
Well, is it a store, or is it a mail order outfit, or is it somebody that...
Yes, and yes.
Mm.
And people that pick up your I mean, let's face it, anybody can pick up a card number. They are not hard to find. You check into a hotel, you spend something in a restaurant, you walk into a store, you get careless and drop a receipt, as I have done on many occasions, or leave one on the dresser in the hotel, or you order by mail, and a million other ways that the numbers become available. Not a big deal.
Does it occur much that places that have your number have used them?
When you say much, I don't know what much means. I mean, I've talked to people who have gone in a gas station and charged $10 worth of gas, and the attendant runs off a half a dozen extra tickets. How do you know what he's doing back of the car? Invariably, the place where they do the charge writing is in back of your car, right?
Yes.
How you know what he's doing back there? Boom, 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 and he runs off 10 charges. It happens. Does it happen regularly? I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know the answer to that, but it certainly does happen.
And if it does float past the 60 days,
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. But I don't see why you couldn't appoint somebody in this country who's going to collect your mail and stuff.
We have a service that does that for us.
And forwards the mail.
Correct.
What good is that?
Well, I get my mail.
Yeah, you get your mail, but it's supposed to be something that requires a timely answer.
That's true.
Well, why not have somebody open it up and make that decision for you? What is it going to cost you? $50 a month, $100 a month? The guy can afford that. This kind of a trip can afford that.
Yeah, perhaps you're right. Well, okay, I do appreciate it.
I mean, a lot of people get their mail through American Express and so forth, right?
True.
But the problem there is it doesn't. As you say, it gets stale. I'd want it to come to one living, breathing person in the United States, and have them open it and make decisions whether or not this should be apprised of this or not.
Yeah, at least in this one instance.
No, in a lot more instances.
Like what?
Well, suppose it's just who the heck knows? Suppose you got served in a legal matter, you'd lose by default because you wouldn't know about it.
That's true.
Now, you might get that set aside, but it's going to cost you a ton more than just having somebody opening your mail here.
That's true.
Secretarial service, an attorney's office, somebody.
Well, that's a good point. I appreciated it. I hadn't actually thought about the legal service and that sort of thing.
Who knows? I would not be comfortable being that far out of touch that long.
I see.
I wish you well, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. You've tuned, we hope, is the best of conversation radio. We call it Talknet. Byhalia, Mississippi. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. Me and my wife are having a big fight right now.
No.
And we're going to do what you say, okay?
I'm going to referee this mess?
That's it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay,
got my striped shirt on here.
Pardon me?
I got my striped shirt on here, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, about 6 months ago, we bought this beautiful old colonial home with full of furniture.
Colonial home in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Oh, I would. All right, full of furniture.
Full of furniture. And in the contract, we had written up the house with contents. Okay? Sunday afternoon.
How long ago was this you bought it?
6 months.
Okay, and you bought the house in fee simple.
Pardon me?
You bought the house in fee simple. You own the house. You have a mortgage of some kind.
On it, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sunday, what happened?
Sunday afternoon, I found a whole bunch of money. And my wife says, give it back to the guy, and I say no.
How much did you find?
80,000 plus.
Wow.
It's mostly in coins, silver dollars, 50-cent pieces.
How old is this stuff?
The latest date I could find, just rambling through it, was 1923.
When did they buy the house?
Pardon me?
When did these people buy the house?
Oh, about 22 years ago, I believe it was.
All right, so that wasn't theirs anyway.
No, it's not. That's
what I'm getting at, it was
not theirs.
Well, it was theirs during that 22 period.
Right.
But it wasn't money they'd stocked away someplace.
Right.
No, in my opinion, the money belongs to you.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Well, now, that's only my opinion. There's nothing legal about that.
Well, we have agreed to go on your opinion.
Well, my opinion, that money's yours. You bought the contents of the house, and this money's been buried there certainly since the 20s. Somebody was sticking it away.
Right.
It's all in silver. It's worth a lot
I even have some $5 gold pieces and $20 gold pieces.
Is that the face value, 80 grand?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
I got news for you. It's worth a lot more than that.
Yes, just from collectors, and even some of the bills is worth, more than face value.
Well, the bills are not the big deal, but the gold pieces will be worth more, and the silver will be worth more, and those Morgan dollars will be worth considerably more.
Yes.
Where'd you find all this stuff hidden?
Well, I was up underneath the house putting in some water pipes, and I don't know, I just noticed some boards all boarded up between two of the floor joists. And just curiosity got the best of me, and I pulled one down, and out come old fruit jars and cigar boxes and all kinds of stuff.
And that stuff's been laying there since 23. That's something like 65 years ago.
At least.
Yeah, at least. You're absolutely right. Could be longer. Isn't that interesting? How much did you pay for the house?
Well, I paid $40,000 for it. Well, listen to this. This is not it. That's.
Have you done any more exploring around this place?
Well, all the furniture that was in it was antique. I sold every piece of it for $33,000.
Oh boy, I tell you something. It should happen to me.
I heard that.
You bought the house for $7 grand, in other words.
Right. Well, I kept the mortgage on. I'm using the.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you still net cost 7 G's.
Right.
Boy, oh boy.
I'm completely remodeling and everything now.
Have you taken a long look around the underside of this house for any more little treasures?
I did. I searched and searched and searched. That was the only place.
I'd be
about
digging
6 feet long and 2 feet, a little over 2 feet wide. Of course, about 6-7 inches deep.
I'd be digging around and opening up walls if it were me, man.
Well, I'm going to buy me a metal detector and even check out back.
I'll bet you are. Hey, good luck, my friend.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. People dream about that. I had a guy from Omaha call one time. They found a whole bunch of slot machines in the wall, plus some money from the 20s. All I found was termites. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. The Marines, you're in Cleveland. Hello there. You have something to say?
How do you do? It seems to me I'm making a presumption that this gentleman is in a non-union facility because presumably his union would have already made some sort of a complaint if he were unionized.
I would think so. Let's make that assumption.
Okay. Assuming we're non-union, this gentleman can go to the Labor Department's Wage and Hour Division, make a complaint that he is not being paid for time he is required to work.
Or required activity, maybe.
Well, I mean, he's required to be present.
Right.
And therefore, whatever they ask them to do, I'm not certain that anyone can tell a company what they can or cannot ask an employee to do.
Is that right?
That's legal. In other words, as long as they're not asking to engage in some illegal activity, I would presume that an employer has the right to ask an employee to do whatever he wants.
Is that right? I think that's an invalid assumption.
But going further, if he were to go to Wage and Hour and make a complaint, they would not bring his name up. They would go to the factory.
There's 300 guys out there in their tutus. I mean, come here, break.
No, they would go immediately upon hearing that complaint. They would do an audit on the wage hour, on the hours worked in the factory and the hours paid. I believe they would interpret those hours as required hours. They would interpret that those hours are overtime hours. In other words, that if I'm working more than 40 hours in a week, those extra 15 minutes a day would add up to an hour and a quarter extra per week. They would order the factory to pay overtime to each employee going back in time for as long as they hadn't been paid for it. And at that point, the factory would either make it a paid hour as part of the 8-hour day, or would determine that it's a non-required function.
But you really believe, in your experience, well, what capacity do you work in?
As a personnel director.
You really believe that you could tell people to get out there and do their push-ups and whatever, and they have to do it?
I believe that there is, as long as there is no contravening contract.
Forget about contracts.
Okay.
You hire me as a lathe. You hire me as a lathe operator. You're telling me that you can say, okay, get out there and start doing aerobics or whatever?
Yes.
Boy.
On what basis can't you? In other words, the only contract between that employer and employee is that the employee works for the employer for a certain wage. And what his job title is up to the employer moment to moment.
By and large, I guess it's a logical extension. Your argument has merit. It really does. It's a logical extension. But I cannot imagine if you got fired for not doing your aerobics that you wouldn't have some recourse against the employer.
I think the recourse here would be that I was fired for not working during a period of time when the employer refused to pay me. And not only did he refuse to pay me, but he owed me overtime. He owed me time and a half for that time.
Right. I'll tell you, it never ceases to amaze me what happens.
But you imagine what would happen. I don't know how many people are in this factory.
300 people. So you're talking about 300 divided by 4. That'd be the number of hours every time this activity went down. Man hours. It's a lot of man hours.
And you go back in time from when they began to make this non-pay. And imagine what kind of a penalty in a one-time check that factory would have to write.
It would be 75 times 153, 450 man hours a week is what we're talking about.
I assume that you have an $8 an hour. You got $12 an hour for overtime.
I'm figuring $10. That would be $4,500 a week, plus penalties.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a penalty other than paying back wages.
Well, we won't get into that. Hey, good luck. I really appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, Dallas, what do you think about all that?
Fairly interesting. I don't really know what to think about it.
Well, you might want to have a chat with the Wage and Hour Division in the state of Texas.
That sounds good. Bruce, we saw you when you were down here a couple of weeks ago, and we really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you much. I'm hoping to come back one of these days.
I appreciate it.
Take good care.
Thank you.
Can you I still can't imagine. I remember listening. I was in the studio, as a matter of fact. One of the premier health guys, he's gone to his reward. That's a heck of a way to put it. But he was not a youngster. And he said, every time I get the urge to exercise, I lay down until the urge passes. It was Carlton Fredericks. I mean, for those of you in the country perhaps many of you don't know him, but he was a broadcaster for 40-odd years, and his book was "You Are What You Eat." That's pretty hard to argue with that thesis. But in any event, I can't imagine him. I'm probably coming in on Monday, and Brendan will have an exercise bike. And I watch the younger members of our bunch here. They come in every once in a while, run around their underwear with big long numbers on, the shorts and whatever. They're out there in the park doing the Dinky Minky Bank 200 or whatever. Maybe they're forcing these people to do this. I wondered how they've been conscripted. That's probably what's happening. Upper management is forcing him into this activity. Oh, my goodness. Believe it. Huntington Beach, California. Hello there.
Well, that last call is why I always listen to you. It's you get a variety of people.
Well, we got that part right.
Yes, and I want to tell you you've helped me before, so I'm hoping that you can help again. You have always such good advice.
Well, thank you so much. What's doing?
Well, in March, I had somebody come look at my shower that was leaking into my kitchen, and it was determined that the drain pipe had rusted and it needed to be replaced.
But the shower is up above the kitchen, I take it?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the plumber told me I needed to call a roofer that came in and hot mopped it, and you just rip out that whole floor and you put in tar. It's called hot mopping, and that would take care of my problem.
Well, wait a while. What about the leak? You still have to fix the leak, don't we?
Well, when you take out the shower floor, because you can't replace the drain unless the shower floor goes.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get under there. Okay. Or well, you can
It's cemented into the floor.
Yeah. Okay.
So I found a roofer to do that, and he was real helpful, telling us how we could fix it ourselves, and if that didn't work, he'd be glad to come back and do it, and we couldn't, so he came back, and we paid him $400.
I'm not quite clear what he was doing.
Well, he came with a sledgehammer, and he took out the cement tile floor.
Yeah, wow.
Replaced the drain.
Yeah.
Then he, put the new drain in, put a subflooring, hot mopped it, put that tar in.
Yeah, I'm surprised a roofer would do this. It just seems to me like a carpenter but that's all right.
That's what I thought, but, the plumber that was pretty reliable said this is the kind of person that does that.
Okay.
So then he put cement in, and he put tile in, and it was supposed to be all done.
All right.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. It leaked again. So they came back and said, it's the grouting, and they fixed the grouting.
Well, wait a while. Oh, I see. They didn't. I must assume they checked this drain before they sealed it all up again.
Well, it isn't the drain; it's the floor that's leaking now.
But where's the water coming from on the floor?
Well, when you take your shower,
yeah,
that floor is supposed to be sealed.
Yes, it is. But you also should use a shower curtain or something to keep the water inside the tub.
Oh, well, this isn't a tub.
Or in the shower stall, whatever. The water's not supposed to come out on the floor.
Well, it doesn't go on the floor. It's in, the tile floor?
Inside the shower?
Inside the shower. That's what it's leaking through.
Well, and it wasn't properly grouted, all right.
Right. So he came back and grouted.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, fine. And it still leaked. So
now what?
So then he put a plug in the drain and put water in the pan.
That sounds reasonable.
And if it didn't leak, then it was my plumbing.
All right. I want you to hold on. I guess it's one of those nights. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. Okay, this is a lady who, for reasons that escape me, the plumber recommended a roofer to fix the floor, which is itself kind of interesting. But in any event, we smacked up the shower with a big sledgehammer and replaced everything, and it's still getting water in the kitchen, which is really tough on the stove, particularly if it's leaking into the pots, because soapy water doesn't make for good breakfast and so forth. In any event, now he filled up the shower with water and said, "By golly, if this holds water, the water's coming from somewhere else, right?"
Right.
Did it hold water?
No.
No.
So that very day, he ripped up the whole shower pan that he had just fixed.
Did he really?
And did it again. So he stood by his guarantee.
Boy, I would say this is a good man, yeah.
Right. So that would be just fine if we didn't have any leaks.
You still have leaks?
It's still leaking. Last night, I stood underneath and got this misty dripping all over.
Only when you shower, though.
Right. Yeah, but it goes into the kitchen sink.
Yeah, well, without regard to that, only when you shower. All right, now have you tried this, just for the heck of it?
Okay.
To kind of isolate things a little bit. You sure it's not the drain?
Yeah, positive.
How do you know that?
Because I had my husband in the process drop something into the drain.
Yeah, and?
So I had the plumber, who I originally had in the first place, had to come out and replace some pipes.
Yeah.
So we checked the pipes thoroughly and the drain.
Well, there's a way to check that, too. And that would be take a piece of hose and put it down the drain itself.
Oh, okay.
And send water down through that system.
Well, except that when I put a flashlight last night, I could see exactly where it's coming, and it's coming through it's away from the drain.
Well, where is it coming through?
Through the by where the wall is, where the wall meets the floor of the shower.
Well, why? I mean, that's just a matter of grouting.
Well, it's worse than that because it's coming through. It's coming through the whole sink, through the wood part, and it's not just one little part.
What do you mean by the wood part? What wood?
Well, there's a wood subflooring.
No. I want to know where it's got. Look, this looks like a pretty simple problem to me. You've got a tile floor and it's leaking somewhere, right?
Right.
Well,
and I think it's leaking, as the wall goes up. I had another contractor.
Right, there are some, and I don't know that I don't want to get. I want to say silicone products, but I'm not sure that's true. But there are clear products that one can use, and I've seen them put on cinder blocks, for example, and then they put water in a cinder block. It holds for weeks. That you could just have sprayed or coated on there that would prevent and the whole works on the tile, on the grouting, on everything.
Oh, that's a possibility.
That would seal this up.
Well, I talked to a couple of other tile men in the process who said they never do a patch job because these, and especially in a 21-year-old house, the problem is usually more than just the drain or the floor.
Well, that could well be.
So the other problem is we're moving in a month, and we need to have the house ready.
Indeed. Yes, in California particularly.
Right.
You have a law that leans right on that point. That you must make a buyer aware of any deficiency that you know of, and you clearly know about this one.
Oh, right. And so, and I wouldn't want to hand somebody this problem.
Sure.
So, and plus what we're going...
It's hard for me to believe, and I have to turn you loose, it's hard for me to believe that if I were to come to your home, I couldn't solve that problem. I can't imagine why they can't. First of all, how much water is going to be higher than the floor? It's the water that bounces off. Now, furthermore, have you tried, he's filled this up now and it holds water now?
No, it doesn't hold water.
Well, if it doesn't hold water, then the problem is someplace within those 2 or 3 inches, for pity's sake.
Right, and it's just leaking through.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I just cannot believe I couldn't find that leak. I would bet my life on it.
Well, we'll see what he does, but he hasn't been the needed person, and I would just assume. I'm wondering, can I go to him and say, "Listen, you didn't."
You can go to him saying anything you want, but he has the right to try to repair it.
He does. Okay.
In this way, he's tried it. He certainly showed his good faith.
Oh, yeah.
But it just seems to me that there are any number of materials, and you ought to check with someone else, that tile can be coated with that'll make it impervious to moisture.
So that it won't leak.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good idea.
I wish you well, dear.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you. Somehow I don't. There are times, you see, when jury riggers like me are necessary. I don't know all the right ways to do things, but I'm a pragmatist. Get the job done. And I think I'd have done this one quite differently. Anyway, this is Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Cumberland, Maryland, thank you so much for your patience. What's on your mind?
Okay, Bruce, it's a real pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
Long-time listener, and appreciate the service you're providing.
What's on your mind, my friend?
Okay, my problem is my daughter is interested in one of these airline and travel agency career training schools.
Uh-huh.
And she's signed up.
This is no, I'm on this important word that you said, an airline training school?
Airline and travel agency career training. That's what they're called.
But not run by an airline.
Right.
Okay, because there is one of the airlines is running a school. You realize that?
No, I did not.
You pay them a fee and they train you to be a flight attendant.
Okay. Well, this is not necessarily a flight attendant. This is
okay. Just I wanted to be clear on that because I wasn't aware of that till a short time ago.
No, I didn't know.
One of the major airlines runs a school, and they don't guarantee you a job after you pay them the fee.
Right. This one doesn't either, but they say they will help, with the job, but they don't guarantee anything.
All right. So what did your daughter train to be?
Okay. Well, the school is for like reservationists, these type, like in the office or clerk, that type of job in an airport.
Is it really necessary to go to school, outside school, to get that kind of job?
That's what I don't know, and that's what we've heard, that it might not be necessary, but it is helpful.
Have you discussed that with anybody in an airline to get that opinion?
No, I haven't.
In a minute. Well, while you and I are talking, This is my night for the expert line. If you work for an airline, is it necessary, is it desirable for one to go to an outside school to become a reservations clerk or something in that that level of employment with an airline? If you work for it, and I know a lot of folks, we have a lot of listeners, you know where they are? In airplanes. Yeah, true. I have a lot of cockpit crews that tell me they listen to us.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, they listen on the ADF, which is an AM radio, basically, where they use it's a navigational device where if you know where an AM radio station is, you can, I don't like the word, but home in on it. A lot of guys we've had some fellows from Piedmont Airlines drop up to they go to a hotel a couple blocks from here and have come in during their layovers, and we're very happy to meet them. So a lot of guys are listening in cockpits right now, but hopefully we got somebody who is not in a cockpit where they can, hey, it would be great if somebody could call in from an airplane on the airphone.
Yeah, it would be.
But the number is 212-245-6040, 212-245-6040, clearly. Is it necessary to go to school outside the airlines to get a job as a reservations clerk? So go ahead. Your daughter apparently did this.
Right. She signed up for the school, and what she found out after, there's like 29 correspondence lessons to take, and then after you complete those...
Correspondence?
Yes.
This is a correspondence school. It's not
no, there's more to it. Then after you complete those 29 lessons, then you go to the school for 5 weeks training. And, well, after she's completed like 22 of the correspondence lessons now, and then right before she graduated from high school a couple weeks ago, she went to a guidance counselor just to talk, and found out that this particular school was not an accredited school.
Accredited by whom?
Well, that's what I don't know, and I asked her that, and her guidance counselor gave me a number to call in Washington. I guess it is, and to find out if it was accredited. Now, that was my question.
Well, first of all, accredited I don't think means a whole lot in this area.
Okay. Well, that's what, when I call this place that accredits these schools, I guess I think they go and investigate the schools, check them out, and then they say it's okay with them.
I want you to hold on just a second, okay?
Okay, sure.
Hello, Miami. How are you?
Hi, how are you tonight?
I am well, thank you. What can you tell? What is your background, first of all?
Well, I was in sales with a major airline, and I'm now vice president of sales for a major cruise line down here in Miami, Florida. And I happen to know you also like cruises. I always like to hear that.
Well, I certainly do.
I called in regarding the reservations level position, the question that's on the air right now.
Yeah.
And basically, the only thing I can tell you is we continually have openings in both the airline and the cruise line industry. It is predominantly an entry-level position, and we like to train our own in both situations. I can't see any reason why this person would have to pay to go to school for this.
Yeah, I don't see why either. And happily, our caller, we've lost our caller, and hopefully he'll call us back. But I can see where there's some jobs. I was surprised to find out that a lot of people in the travel business do like to get people who've gone to travel agency school.
Well, I think that there's a time and place for different types of schools.
Of course.
Now, I don't want to rule out travel agency schools completely because some of them are very, very good. It depends on the field or, like any industry, this one is also segmented. But to be a reservationist for an airline, that is not one that is outside the realm of what the training possibilities are for any particular airline. Anyway, that's about it.
Hey, thank you for how's the cruise business?
Oh, it couldn't be better. Actually, more people are going to cruise this year than ever before.
Is that right?
People absolutely love it. And again, I appreciate your kind words for cruising. It is truly tremendous.
Well, I'm kind of hoping to get into the cruise business again one of these days and have a cruise with Bruce. I'm serious.
Well, you know that's part of our business. We like Pied Pipers. That's what we call the tour leaders on our cruises, and bring along people they love to cruise with.
Why don't you drop me a note?
You know, Bruce, maybe I'll do that.
Why don't you do that?
All right.
Hey, thanks very much for helping out.
Talk to you later. Thanks a lot.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Cumberland, we got you back, huh?
Yes.
Did you hear all that?
No, I didn't.
Well, basically, it's a waste of time, according to our expert who worked for both a cruise line as a vice president and an airline.
Is that right?
Waste of time. They like to train their own people.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So.
And I happen to agree with him. I can't imagine why you'd have to spend money to do what you described. How much money did your daughter spend, I'm afraid to ask?
Well, the total cost of the school is $3,300, and we have $1,000 invested in it so far.
I think that I would rethink that one before I spent any more money.
Okay, we just...
This gentleman said we're constantly looking for help. Why would we want to train them ourselves?
Okay, well, see, we don't live... Well, we live within about three hours of a couple major airports, but, you know, there's nothing right around here real close, and we just didn't know where to check. I guess we should have checked there.
I would think so, and she may have to move if she wants to do that
Right,
for a living.
well, she realizes that. But,
well, I would consider not spending any more money in that direction were I you.
Okay.
Good luck, my friend.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for getting back to us.
Bye now.
We're having a little problem with this one line, so I think we'll just eliminate that one from our ability to work here. What do you say, kids? Albany, New York. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I am real fine, thank you.
I enjoy your program.
Thank you.
I did a silly thing. Well, not really silly, but let me get your advice. I asked for a raise today, and I received it. And now I'm killing myself that I didn't ask for a larger raise. They granted it to me with no problem at all. I've been doing a great job.
They said 2 cents an hour, kid, and what? Don't spend it all in one spot.
I'm going back to them on Monday, but I just want some advice on what do I say when I go back.
Well, let's start at the... Give me some kind of parameters. What do you do for a living?
Okay, I work for a cultural arts organization.
Culture? What does that mean?
Museum type of institution.
What do you do?
Curator.
And how long have you been there?
5 years.
Or put it another way, how long has it been since you got your last raise?
Every year you get a merit and a cost of living.
All right, how much do you earn now?
With the raise?
No, before the raise.
Before the raise, it was 37.
And how much of a raise did they give you?
42.
$5,000.
Right. And I would have gotten about 2 regardless.
On what basis?
Cost of living and merit.
So they gave you a $3,000 increase.
Right.
All right. Now, in comparable positions, because you are obviously in not a run-of-the-mill job, what do they pay?
It really depends.
Other museums, what do curators get? I haven't got a clue what a curator in a museum earns.
It depends on the institution, their endowment, and so on. But it can be as high as 70 or 80, or it really runs the gamut.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you, when you walk in to talk to these guys? First of all, did you accept the 5? Or was it just here it is? And in other words, did they sit down with you and say, Charlie, look, you're making 37, we're going to goose it to 42? Did you say, gee, thanks a lot, fellas? Or was it just had you in any way agreed to that raise? Well, I guess I'm getting to, or trying to get to.
No, I said I'd like to discuss it a little bit further.
Oh, okay. You left the door open.
Yeah.
All right. On what basis do you feel you ought to get more?
Colleagues and other institutions.
Well, that was why I asked the question.
Okay.
What is the? There must be a norm someplace.
Mm-hmm.
Can you define that for them? Not for me, certainly.
Yes.
Well, that's what you talk about.
Okay. So I'd go back to them with more ammunition and say, here's what the field is paying and so on.
Well, isn't that reasonable?
Yeah, I guess it is. I should have done that in the first.
I mean, if you were a dishwasher and they offered you 42, you'd say, wow, right? On the other side of that, if you're some kind of a super physicist with a great breakthrough coming, you look at 40. So we have to have some kind of a reasonable comparison, something to compare it to, and that means other guys doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get those ducks in order when I walked in. Here's somebody over here in Schenectady, and they're doing thus and such, and somebody in New York City doing thus and such, and their background is parallel or comparable to mine, and so forth. Doesn't that seem reasonable?
It does. Okay,
That's the approach I'd take.
Yeah. Hearing it from you, though, I mean, I just, again, I should have been more clear in the first place.
Hey, listen, not to worry. Just get your ducks in order, and let's hope it works out well for you.
Okay, thanks.
Take good care, my friend. I don't know if you guys can hear all this noise in the background here. A little background. Yep, there it is. Mickey the Mutt has come into the studio with me tonight. And I don't know what's going on. Well, maybe you guys, I don't know. I'm a dog lover. I've had dogs on my... All of a sudden, this is a lap dog. Never was a lap dog before. In the last couple of months, I don't know if he's insecure or what, but as soon as I sit down in a chair, wham, he's in my lap. So here I am with my feet up on the console. This is my under usual position. And no matter how many times I kick him off, he is right here, and everybody in the studio is breaking up. So if you hear snoring in the background, this is the only coast-to-coast dog snoring. And I paid how many $100 to have his nose corrected? Something wrong here. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. We're having a good time tonight, and I hope you are as well. This is Talknet.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi.
I'm a new fan of your show. I really enjoy it.
Well, I'm so pleased. May I help you in some way?
Well, I've got a new pet peeve, and I'm wondering if you can tell me if my complaint is justified.
Let's put a
Let me tell you a story.
Go ahead.
I made a deposit, a large out-of-state check in my bank. It's from my parents. I'm a student a senior in college here. And that was on the 17th of May, and on the 20th of May I had to go out of town. So I prepaid my rent. And as my luck would have it, that check went back to the bank during this 5-day waiting period they have for large out-of-state checks.
Well, they have a right to so many days, which has been
right.
diminished by law.
Right. Right.
Used to be
now,
2 weeks.
Right. Now the checks returned to the apartment company
for.
It was for around.
No. But the reason was what?
It said on the check, and it had a big stamp on it. It said drawn on uncollected funds.
Uncollected, right? Which is quite different from non-sufficient.
Right. It said not NSF. Please re-clear.
Right.
Is what the check said.
Yeah, that's okay.
And so they didn't re-clear the check, and so I come back after a trip a few weeks and find all this stuff. And
why didn't they re-clear the check?
Well, that's what I wanted to know, because I went to a lot of banks and they said that this was the rule, but that a great majority of people would have re-cleared the check.
Well, some people don't understand the distinction, and there is a major distinction between uncollected and non-sufficient.
Right. Well, that's what I tried to argue.
Argue with whom? The bank or with your landlord?
The bank. I figured I was just a victim of ignorance there. But the apartment company, it's a large company, and they rent to a lot of students who are in the same situation, getting large checks from their parents and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just, I called, went as far up to the totem pole as I could, and they said, well, their policy is just to slap an NSF fee on all return checks for whatever reason.
Well, that's nonsense. And first of all, that's their policy, but that doesn't give them a right to do that. Were you made aware of that policy?
I would assume in some fine print.
That wasn't my question. Have you been made aware of that, to your knowledge, right now?
Well, not to my knowledge, no.
I would go back to them and explain to them there's quite a difference. First of all, you made another mistake.
Yeah.
You should have dated the check the first of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And then you dated the same day, I take it, that you wrote the check.
Right.
Well, you should have dated the first of the month. Then if it went through, we say, listen, you just put the check through too soon.
Right.
That would have bought you to 10 days or something.
Right.
But in any case, I would go back to the landlord and say, well, listen, I paid you, if you look at the date, 10 days early.
Right.
And had you held it to the first of the month when the money was due, there'd been no problem.
Yeah, well, what I really don't understand is they could have had their money a month ago if they just re-cleared my check.
Exactly.
And I was just, I wasn't trying to bounce a check up. I was just trying to
you didn't bounce
my
a
rent.
check. You didn't bounce a check. There's quite a difference between the two.
Yeah, I feel like I'm dealing with such a large bureaucracy. I don't know if there's any.
How much money? How much late charge do they want?
They want $20. It's not a big amount of money, but it's the principal.
How long are you going to stay there in this apartment complex?
Well, I just signed a new lease, so it's about 7 months or so.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'd find somebody to fight with as a matter of principle.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of, writing a complaint to the Better Business Bureau.
No. I'd find somebody within that organization.
Mm-hmm. Just to have it out with them.
Yeah, I would do so if I were you.
Okay, well,
I'll tell you what. If they are that adamant, all right?
Mm-hmm.
If they are that adamant, I want you to give us a call back, and if you like, Bill will give you a number that you can get through on.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I want you to call. I want you to call on a Wednesday, because as you know, we try to do a lot of things on tape on Wednesday, and that's right in the gut of the business day. And either Bill or Sheila or I will call your landlord.
Okay.
And see if we can maybe talk some sense to them, okay?
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay, you hang on. Bill will give you a number you can sneak through on a Wednesday afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time. And if they don't want to cooperate, maybe we can talk some sense to them. There's no reason for that. I see no reason whatever for that kind of an exercise. None. Now, I realize it may have cost them, but they deposited the check. They were paid earlier than they should have. As a practical matter, I don't see why the bank wouldn't hold out for a couple of days, but that's a whole other story. Lexington, Kentucky, hello.
Greetings, Bruce.
Hi.
I've got some information for you on the caller that called a little while ago with the employer who was requiring that they exercise.
Yeah, talk to me.
Okay, I've been on both ends of the same subject.
How did you get on? Which end were you? How did you get on both ends?
I've been there as an employee and as an employer.
Yeah.
I worked for a while for an employer who made some somewhat abusive, or at least it felt that way, abusive requirements. Worked as a sales clerk in a store.
Mm-hmm.
Because of some technical background, I was required to do plumbing, electrical work, et cetera, carpentry work at the regular store clerk's wages.
All right.
So I checked with the Kentucky Department of Labor.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I found out that there is a denotative letter of the law and a connotative, or a way that it's applied.
Time is becoming a bit of an element here, so accelerate.
I'll run through. The letter of the law states that an employer can require whatsoever of an employee during the time that they are employed for a fair rate.
Mm-hmm.
That fair rate, according to the law, has to be minimum wage. Anything above and beyond that minimum wage is the employer's generosity for a given task.
Mm-hmm.
So that employer can require that employee to stand on their head and whistle Dixie, as long as they're paying them minimum wage. Anything over 40 hours a week must be compensated at time and a half. Now, when that's applied, it comes out a bit differently, because an employer can require an employee to do something that the employee feels is immoral or just or unfair.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it may be litigatable, although it's not against the letter of the law.
You can actually require your employees to get out there and do cheerleading exercises. That's hard for me to swallow.
Certainly. It certainly is. Now, an employee has indeed the right to say, no, I'm not going to do that. The employer then has the right to say, then you're fired. The employee then has the option of seeing if it's litigatable. As you well know, if you have enough money, you can litigate anything.
Just about anything, yeah.
Certainly.
Interesting point. I'm disappointed we didn't get a couple of lawyers on there to argue that one, but I appreciate your call. I do wish you well. I wish we had more time, but I do have to say I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Well, we've done it again. Another hour becomes Talknet history. It's a pleasure working with you guys. Mr. Brennan on the controls, Mr. Lally on the telephone, and Mr. Mickey in the lap. I want to thank you folks, because you made it possible. You made this show #1 in the country, and you believe this. I am grateful. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talk.
About a year ago, I got a divorce.
Uh-huh.
And because my ex-husband wasn't working, I was assigned, I would say, 90% of the marital debt. And I've been slowly paying that off. In the meantime, yesterday, the IRS showed up at my door and said that for the 1 year that I signed the tax returns, they were going after back taxes of about $6,000. I never knew anything about it.
Talk to me about this return.
Okay, I signed it. I can tell you that much. I'm pretty sure my ex-husband is a CPA. I'm pretty sure that what he did was fudge his expenses. I don't have a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have a copy of it either. So that's the most that I can make out of it.
What year was this for?
1986.
Your husband prepared the return.
Yes.
You signed it, so you're jointly responsible.
Right.
Now, I don't know if this applies or not, but I would. In fact, this has been my night for experts. Now, come on, experts! I need an accountant, and I need one right now.
Really quick.
Really quick. I want you to hold on while I give the numbers, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. But I need a CPA who knows taxes or a tax lawyer. So if you're bopping around in your car, America needs your help at 212-245-6040. I'm wearing this number out tonight, which is fine with me. 212-245-6040. There is a rule, statute, I'm not sure what, under the IRS code called the Innocent Spouse Statute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that if you don't know and somebody's cheating like crazy, you are not held accountable for it. Now, I don't know if that applies here or not. You signed, like Billy Dawn, because your husband said to sign.
Yeah.
And even more important, your husband had credentials. He was a CPA, so I think it would be reasonable for you to assume that he knew what he was doing.
Almost good faith.
Well, I would think so. On the other side of that, maybe he was dishonest. We don't know that to be the case.
Well, the difficult part is he has skipped town.
Uh-huh.
They have been trying to find him. They've been sending him letters. He had a P.O. box.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was going to that P.O. box, which is why I never saw anything until they rapped on my door.
Uh-huh.
What the gentleman told me, and I have to say he was extremely nice.
Mm-hmm.
You always think the IRS is going to be kind of mean.
No, they don't have forked tails, at least not usually.
No, but he said that I would be held accountable for all of it. My ex-husband is not working and has no source of income.
I want you to hold on just a second. I have an accountant from mainland Florida. Thank you very much for responding. Hello there.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Okay, you're on your car phone.
Yeah, I am.
Well, listen, we will try to burn up your time, but what the heck.
I'll speak up.
I've got the lady on from Green Bay. Can you, she signed the return, clearly.
Yeah.
Who earned the money, by the way, that year? Both of you, or just your husband, or just your...
It was jointly earned, but he had the majority of the income that was earned.
And he filled out the return.
Yes.
You signed it.
Yes.
And now they can't find this rascal, so the IRS wants it all from you.
Right.
Talk to me.
He's a CPA?
Yes, he is.
What she needs to do pretty quickly is find a tax attorney in her area, and more than likely what he's going to argue is the innocent spouse rule.
That was what I mentioned a moment ago, yes.
I'm sorry, I was probably making...
Yeah.
We're talking about a federal matter.
I don't know about the lien rules on that. I do know, however, though, that the innocent spouse rule in this situation, CPAs especially